Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba has moved to clarify that the probe into him is not linked to procurement-related wrongdoing. Gigaba held a meeting with officials from the investigating Directorate Against Corruption this morning. He took to social media, announced that he had been called to appear in court on allegations linked to state capture-related corruption. Gigaba said the allegations stem from his time as Public Enterprises Minister between 2010 and 2014. The Directorate did not arrest the MP today, but instead it met with him to discuss the possibility of formal charges being laid against him. Alpha Ramoshwana has more.
Former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba says IDEC's probe relates to allegations that he received an undeserved benefit during his time in cabinet. In a statement, Gigaba says IDEC has given him the opportunity to respond fully to the claims and to provide context regarding the benefits he is accused of receiving. No indictment has been issued at this stage, and Gigaba says IDEC has not presented him with any evidence supporting the allegations. This means he has not been formally charged, and a decision is expected once he submits his response to IDEC. For now, Gigaba will retain his position on the ANC's National Executive Committee as well as his seat in Parliament. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Gauteng's Portfolio Committee on Environment says government has failed the people of Hammanskraal in providing them with clean water. Members of the committee conducted an oversight inspection at the Rooival wastewater treatment plant today. The plant, which is currently being upgraded, is at the heart of the water issues in some areas of Pretoria North. Thabiso Koba reports.
The Rooival wastewater treatment plant has not been working optimally since 2011. As a result, it has been discharging poorly treated effluent into the Apis River. When members of Gauteng's Portfolio Committee on Environment visited the river today, they were met with discolored water and a strong smell of raw sewage emanating from it. Committee Chairperson Jaco Mulder.
There was some maladministration, unfortunately, poor maintenance, lack of maintenance, negligence if you want, and unfortunately in the process the scarce water resources been polluted, and also mentioned that there were life loss, unfortunately, which is a very, very serious situation. So from the Portfolio Committee side, we are here to see that the executive do their work, and what we found is that they have failed.
Mulder says presentations made before the committee by government officials show it will take a long time to clear up the pollution in the water streams. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News, Hammanskraal.
Let's stay in Pretoria, where alleged insubordination by the acting head of EMPD, Julius Mkhwanazi, has formed the crux of testimony before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry today. Picking up from yesterday, suspended EMPD Chief Isaac Mapiyeye emphasized how Mkhwanazi was never officially appointed to head the embattled Metro Police Department. The inquiry was set up to investigate allegations of police corruption. Oren Singh has more.
Suspended EMPD Chief Isaac Mapiyeye claims that Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi, who's been accused of having links to criminally accused tender tycoon Vusi Musikat Matlala, didn't even meet the criteria to fill the post of Deputy Commissioner within the Metro Police. Mkhwanazi was made acting EMPD head after Mapiyeye was suspended in November last year on charges of sexual misconduct. Mapiyeye alleges that Mkhwanazi was favoured by former Ekurhuleni city manager Imogen Mashazi, earning him political protection and no accountability. A probe by IPID into Mkhwanazi related to the allegations that he fitted Matlala's private security vehicles with blue lights, among other things, has yet to be acted on by the city of Ekurhuleni.
All the members who were involved in assisting IPID with that investigation were dealt with by the city.
The IPID report recommended that disciplinary action be taken against Mkhwanazi. Oren Singh, Eyewitness News.
To the city of Ekurhuleni now, which has welcomed the outcome of an independent review by the South African Institute of Government Auditors, clearing the city's chief auditor of any wrongdoing. Philip Rachwale was accused of altering an internal report of the city's 1.8 billion rand chemical toilet tender. The allegations were first made in 2019. Jabulile Mbata has more.
In response to the allegations, the South African Institute of Government Auditors commissioned a formal assessment to determine whether Philip Ragwale breached a code of ethics or disciplinary code. But after examining supporting documents, a probe by the institute found no evidence of misconduct or ethical breach on behalf of Ragwale. The city of Ekurhuleni says it remains committed to ensuring that all internal processes operate at the highest standard of integrity and fairness. The administration adds that it remains steadfast in its commitment to good governance and accountability. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
And in Bulgaria, 6 migrants have died and 4 people were injured after their car crashed during a police pursuit. According to reports, the vehicle was carrying 10 people when it failed to stop for a check and sought to evade capture yesterday. The driver, a Romanian citizen, has since been arrested. Gold is trading at $4,012.83 an ounce. The rand is at 17.38 to the dollar, 22.72 to the pound, 20.03 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $63.38 a barrel.
In your traffic this afternoon, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 southbound before the Buccleuch interchange and the centre lane is blocked. Another stationary vehicle on the N3 southbound after Marlborough Drive and the right lane is affected.
In your sport, Quinton de Kock records his 22nd ODI century as South Africa level their series against Pakistan. Rassie Erasmus relishing France rematch, and FIFA fines Mbegezeli Mbogazi for unsporting behaviour.
It's a cloudy Friday afternoon in Gauteng with thunder showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 20 and 22 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba has moved to clarify that the probe into him is not linked to procurement-related wrongdoing.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
A very good afternoon, everyone. It's 8 minutes past 3 on Friday, the 7th of November. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you're listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. Suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu today handed over his cell phone and other devices to the police. But what actually happens next? And in general, I'm certainly not referring to the minister here, if details and data have been removed, and this was something raised in regard to Kat Matlala's phone at the ad hoc committee yesterday, is that material gone for good? We'll look at all the forensic ins and outs after 5. Some other stuff we're covering. If South Africa does get a Grand Prix, where will the race be held? Kyalami seemed to be the front-runner at one point, but comments this week by Sport, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie suggest that pole position has not yet been settled. We'll look at this after 4 with motorsport journalist Sudhir Matai from doubleapex.co.za. The arch-villain in a blockbuster movie that will be released in the United States next week and sure to come here as well, speaks something like this.
Maybe if we said it with, Mr. Darcy is engaged to my daughter. Now what have you to say? Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Darcy. Mr. Darcy is engaged to my daughter.
Is engaged to my
daughter.
Now
what is the next line?
Now what have you to say?
Now, Mr. Darcy is engaged to my daughter. Now, what have you to say?
Now, what have you to say? Ish?
Quite good, yeah.
Okay.
Say is like it almost just cuts off.
Cuts off.
Cuts off.
Cuts off.
So, Mr. Darcy, Mr. Not Mr. Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Darcy
is engaged to my daughter.
Is engaged to my daughter.
Now, what have you to say?
What have you to say? How was that? Was that okay? Ish? I feel like I kind of got it.
So that was Rosamund Pike engaging in an interview and explaining about the accent that she needs to deliver in her part in a movie called Now You See Me, Now You Don't. This is the third movie in the Now You See Me series. She plays a character called Veronica van der Berg, probably Vandenberg, if I was honest, who heads a dangerous syndicate. But who taught her to speak that kind of South African, and how difficult might that have been? Actress Fiona Ramsey is also an acclaimed voice coach who has worked with many major stars. She joins us at 10 to 4 to take us through the process. And in our weekly feature, a song, a book and a dish, what does it take to run a major South African university? Vice-Chancellor at Stellenbosch, Prof. Daresh Ramjugganath, joins us at 20 to 6 to share an inspiring book, a favourite song and some memories of meals shared. We've got all that and a whole lot more on 702 Drive, including breaking news, news from the roads in our regular traffic updates, and the latest from the markets. The JSE has slipped back sharply today, down by 1,325 points. That's 1.2%. Boxer is up by 2.3%, a rare bull in a large pack of bears. By the way, the collective noun for bears, I have just learnt, is actually called a sloth. But I thought I wouldn't refer to a large sloth of bears in regard to the markets. But there are plenty of them today. On the downside, the Foschini Group has lost 7.1%. Sappi is down 6.7%, and BHP and Blue Label are both off by 3%. The rand is currently trading at 17 rand 33 against the US dollar. A euro will cost you 20 rand and 3 cents, and 22 rand 74 will get you a pound. The oil price is up by 55 cents. Brent crude currently trading at $63.94 a barrel. Stephen Curtis joins us with all the details at 4:25. Sport with Tolakele Mganga. Quite a knock yesterday from Quinton de Kock. Bali Dlamini back with the latest news headlines. And Zane Johnson is keeping an eye on the roads. He's with us in a few moments' time. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. And if it's happening in 702 land, you will hear it here first. Of course, if you've seen something or heard something that we don't know about, please get in touch. 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. It's 13 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
So looking forward to the next 2 and almost 3 hours. We'll have lots to talk about, lots to inquire about, lots to think about. And of course, some of those thoughts are random, although they're often prompted by things that happen in the news. Now, the head of the Independent Directorate Against Corruption, Andrea Johnson, who I referred to a moment ago, was actually at Parliament's ad hoc committee looking into all these police matters yesterday. She was asked about the fact that her husband is actually a senior figure in crime intelligence. This is what she had to say.
My husband was very mindful. We had a conversation about do what you need to do. That's always been how it has been. I don't need information from Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson doesn't have information to give. I wouldn't ask him for information. Pillow talk gets people killed. That's something we've never done. And that has just been it. And I.
Yeah, so, I mean, we'll cut it off there and get into the question. Pillow talk gets people killed. Obviously, I'm assuming, and I think I can, that for the vast majority of people listening to us at the moment, you're not dealing at that level. But nevertheless, there must be quite a lot of you who at various times have to measure and perhaps ration and perhaps edit what it is you say about the work that you do with the person that you are actually closest to. So I'd be interested to know, are you in that situation and how do you go about it? Either you're the person who can't ask too much about something that's going on, or you're the person who's got sensitive stuff and you edit it or maybe censor it altogether. Give us a call on that. I wonder what your experiences are. I would have thought being in the NDPP, involved in the national prosecution setup on the one hand, crime intelligence on the other, particularly given how murky the waters in both have become in recent years, you would have to be pretty careful, provided, of course, you felt that you wanted to be careful. But your story, please, on 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. This is 702 Drive. That's where you get us. Jonathan Fairbairn, I mean, no secrets here really at 702, are there?
Afternoon, John. Afternoon to the 702 family. No, I mean, there's nothing that, in terms of what Andrea had said there, that would get us into trouble. So I often talk to my missus about things that will happen in the building, happen on the show, things that We discuss from time to time, and she'll do the same. She'll come in and talk to me about, the things that go on in her company. But what I often think of is couples that are, let's say, in very high-profile positions. So, maybe you are a CFO of a very large corporate on the JSE, and there's something to do with, a merger. Would you maybe talk to that about your husband, because he may then go to the squash court or the golf course or the paddle court,
right?
Chat with his mates, and then that could be an opportunity of buying shares or not. And then also, if you think about psychologists, and some of the stuff that they may hear from their patients, where do they offload that to? Do they maybe go home at night and say, love, this person came in, without giving the name, obviously, but tell the story of what they've heard on that particular day. So I wonder if that happens with couples if you're in the medical field, or, as I said, a CFO or even CEO.
Yeah, no, I think those are good examples, and maybe you both are in senior positions in the same industry, and you might even be competitors. I mean, I have sort of been in those situations, not very often, but where both my wife and I have professional relationships with the same person, but very different ones.
Right.
And so sometimes there is a fair bit of editing, on both sides, saying, okay, well, you working with them on this particular thing, I'm working with them on that particular thing, and lines.
And do you both respect those boundaries and those lines? You don't press each other a little bit more to say, oh, come on.
No, not really. But sometimes you just got to be quite explicit and say, okay, I'm telling you this, but are you comfortable hearing this? It's an interesting conversation, actually.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So maybe you've been in that situation. Do share with us, please, on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. 18 past 3, traffic getting busy, especially with thunderstorms predicted. Let's get the latest traffic. Zane Johnson, good afternoon.
A very good afternoon to you, John. And of course, we have a report of a crash on the R21 northbound after the engine Highveld 1 stop. You got the right lane closed to traffic. Now, especially with the cold, wet, rainy weather and people don't switch on their headlights, which you will find out on the roads this afternoon, stationary vehicles become a major problem. Stationary vehicle on the N1 southbound before the Buccleuch interchange and the centre lane is blocked. Another stationary vehicle on the N3 southbound just after Marlborough Drive, and you've got the right lane of some traffic lights that are out in Tshwane this afternoon, the N14 and Jean, Modderfontein and Van Riebeek, and then Paul Kruger and Lavender. I'm Zane Johnson. More Eyewitness News traffic in 15 minutes.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Are you a member of the MK party, or did you just vote for the MK party?
No, not a member. I just voted for the MK party just to spite the ANC out.
William, you voted for whom and why?
Africa, I voted Paituk Alliances, but I feel like it's fair because now what we see in the Malano Commission, how they're exposing the citizen taxes, making criminals.
Zugi, if an election was to be held tomorrow, do you know who you would be voting for?
No, I think in the last election. Listen, I have an idea. I have a short list.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Every day I'm hustling. It's our reality as business owners. And it's good to know that there's someone out there who takes care of the business that makes the business. Gotta love My Way Business Insurance. Saving big on premiums with 24/7 emergency services, plus My Business Assist with marketing, legal, and labor advice services.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Tip your way to glory in the Hollywood Bets Punters Challenge, the free-to-play horse racing game with daily cash giveaways and massive jackpot prizes. Pick all the winners on the race card and you could win 100,000 Rand. Bet 50 Rand or more on your selections using the Bet Slip feature and you could walk away with 1 million Rand. Visit punterschallenge.hollywoodbets.net today and tip your way to the top. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop.
South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
Flight Centre's big red sale is back. 21 October to 14 November. Save up to 50% on tours, 35% on cruises, and massive deals on Thailand, Mauritius, and the Maldives. Even local flights from 1,900 Rand return. Now that's a win. Plus, 2 kids stay and eat free on selected breaks. The world's waiting. The deals are calling. So, get to your nearest Flight Centre store today. T's and C's apply. Flight Centre, your centre for travel.
702 is in conversation with the Glass Recycling Company on 702 Drive with John Perlman, discussing the hashtag Glass Recycling Challenge and how small actions can lead to big change.
What is the Glass Recycling Challenge and how do people take part?
Our goal is to collect 280 tons of glass packaging, collect your used glass bottles and jars, and then you need to find your nearest glass bank at tgrc.coza. It's a really simple way to recycle. Collect all the glass, put it in a box, and then you can win prizes by taking a snapshot, a photo of you on your recycling trip, post it on social media with the hashtag Glass Recycling Challenge, and then you can win.
The Glass Recycling Company, hashtag Glass Recycling Challenge.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
22 minutes past 3. Growing concerns out in Tshwane about a growing spread of the disease typhoid. So what exactly is typhoid and why is Tshwane facing this particular difficulty? Let's get some expert insight and welcome to the show Dr. Kiran Luchmina-Ryan, who's a senior pathologist at the Center for Enteric Diseases at the National Institute for Communicable Diseases. Dr. Luchmina-Ryan, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time. I'm not aware of us reporting on or being aware of typhoid at this scale before. What leads to the disease spreading, and why do you think we're facing up to it in Tshwane right now? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John. Thanks for having me on your show, and I think it's quite an important topic, especially for public knowledge. So getting back to your first question about what is typhoid fever, and you haven't really heard of it before. So typhoid fever, which is also known as enteric fever, is basically endemic in the country. So we do see sporadic cases throughout the country, throughout the year. However, at this point in time, we are seeing a specific surge in the city of Tshwane, specifically in the Hammanskraal and Bronkhorstspruit area. Generally, the reasons for a typhoid surge within an endemic country is basically when people are associated or live within areas where there's inadequate water and sanitation infrastructures. These water and sanitation is contaminated by patients who are infected with the bacteria called Salmonella typhi. So I'll stop there and you can ask me further if I need to break down Salmonella typhi a little bit more.
No, I don't think, I think that's enough background on that part of the issue. But how does Tshwane, and if it spreads somewhere else, actually start dealing with it?
So what's happening at the moment is the Department of Health, they have City of Tshwane outbreak response teams. And so they are actually going out to where these cases reside in, these specific patients, and they are doing environmental surveillance and environmental testing to identify where are the possible contaminated water sources that are infecting the cases. So that's being done at the moment, and environmental and health surveillance will be done or is part of the municipality's work. So not necessarily NICD's work, but we are supporting the investigation in terms of management of patients and clinical cases.
Thank you so much. Well, important beginnings as we try to better understand typhoid fever. It's a real problem out in Tshwane, a growing problem, it would seem. And I don't think we've been challenged by this for quite a while. That was Dr. Kiran Luchmina-Ryan, who joined us from the National Institute for Communicable Diseases. 25 minutes past 3.
Drive Home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's get ourselves down to Parliament and pick up on this story. Much has been said at regular intervals. I think it was particularly acute when we suffered all those casualties in the Democratic Republic of Congo on the eastern border of that country, close to Rwanda. And questions were asked then about the morale of the National Defence Force. Well, today, the SANDF was briefing the Joint Standing Committee on Defence about exactly that. So what did they say? Here's Babalo Ndenze, EWN parliamentary reporter, with an update from that hearing. Babalo, very good afternoon to you. What did we learn? I mean, in general, much has been said about low morale. Was it confirmed or contested today?
It was definitely contested today, John, by members of the Joint Standing Committee on Defence. This Labour survey just on, the morale of the members of the Defence Force, it went out to about 8,000 members of the Defence Force. These are 8,000 questionnaires that were done in person. It's ranges from brigadier, your generals, your lance corporals, to levels to, your able seamen in the Navy, etc. And the survey came back and, the questionnaire came back positive in most parts. Members of the Defence Force that were questioned, just to give you a simple idea of the scoring, a 3.5 is the average score. So anything above 3.5 is considered good.
Okay.
And, the results or the conclusions from this, showed that, in certain areas, the department scored very well above average. In the management of leadership, it's 3.6 over there, a high score for management and leadership and supervising, as well as human resource management. Now, these are quite detailed questions, and they range even on the image of the Department of Defense as an employer. The respondents scored, a good mark, I think 3.6 there. And the only low score or registered negative rating was on availability of resources, which now goes back to the issue that you mentioned as well in the DRC, where, there was a shortage of, things like food, as well as shortages of equipment, to defend themselves when they come under attack, and also transport and logistical issues. So that one, it was quite a clear low score there, I think at about 2.6 or something around there. So members are saying that, on the ground, it doesn't look like, these scores are really telling the clear picture, because the reality in the DRC, wherever these guys are deployed at, is we always get reports in the news, even from speaking to the soldiers when we go on oversight as members of parliament. They say that the members, for example, Carl Niehaus, the EFF, and some members of the ANC also, saying similar or raising similar questions on, can we really rely on this document? Because, we don't see this on the ground. Things look terrible. We even spoke of a crisis at some point. There's a lack of funding. Budget cuts by Treasury for the department. Bantu Olomisa has been complaining about, the spend on GDP for the military or for defense has been at low levels for years. It's nowhere near to where it should be. But, Angie Machecha also present at today's meeting, John, and she did, respond to some of these concerns by members. She says the survey itself is really a management tool. It's not even for Parliament's consumption. We're just being open about it. We don't even have to hold a press briefing about these findings. It's really something that we as a department want to see, but we're sharing it with you. And it should not be, she trusts, the contents of the survey as well. But she does accept, like most people, that there definitely does need to be more funding for the Defence Force, John.
Thank you so much. A summary there, Babalo Ndenze. Very interesting. I mean, so the Defence Forces had this survey done. I was going to say has done the survey, but I'm assuming it's not an internal process, but certainly not purely an internal process. But how does that accord? I mean, if you are in the SANDF, we're very happy for you to call us anonymously and, tell us how you feel about it. That by and large, people are pretty happy. They think the leadership's good. They think that the image of the SANDF is a strong and positive one. They're very unhappy about the lack of resources. And given what we've heard on that score, who wouldn't be? But if you're in the thick of things at the SANDF and you want to comment, please call us. If you've got a family member, perhaps who's daily and weekly and monthly sharing with you gives you some kind of clear idea as to how they feel about where they work, well, you're welcome to call in that regard as well. 3:30. Bali Dlamini has the very latest eyewitness news. City of Joburg is keen for traders to register. What are they saying? Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Well, the City of Joburg is urging informal traders to take the opportunity to apply for trading permits seriously. Earlier this week, the Gauteng High Court ordered the city to register and allocate trading stalls to informal traders. This was prompted by a court challenge by the Socio-Economic Rights Institute of South Africa. The court has given the city until the 18th of this month to process permit applications and register traders on the Metro's database. But Acting Mayor Eunice Mgcina says most of the 500 traders who were invited to register have not shown up.
Our way forward too is that we're going to continue with our operations. That's the reason why we're going to appeal, because when we appeal, it's going to set aside the judgment and we continue until the next set down. Because I don't think South Africans are ready for this, and if they are ready for this, they must tell us. But if they're not, then they must definitely join the struggle, because the hype out there is that people are tired of the illegality from foreigners.
3 former nurses in KwaZulu-Natal are under investigation for alleged insurance fraud linked to a patient. The family of late Nduduzo Mbata has opened a criminal case against the 3. It's alleged that in 2023, the nurses took out insurance policies on Mbata, who was a patient at the Appelbosch Hospital, without his family's knowledge or permission. The nurses resigned when approached by the health department about the allegations. Department spokesperson Nati Olifant.
Upon receiving the complaint, the hospital management engaged with the nurses who denied the allegation. They were then instructed to submit written statements but refused to do so. The nurses subsequently submitted a 24-hour resignation.
Olifant says the matter is now being dealt with by the Special Investigative Unit.
Due to the seriousness of the matter, the department has referred the matter to the Special Investigating Unit for a full investigation while the SAPS conducts the criminal probe. The department is cooperating fully with all authorities and will not comment further.
The South African Communist Party and the National Union of Mine Workers have staged a picket outside the Western Cape Legislature today against the surge in violent crimes. The organizations say the protest is to highlight the struggle against capitalist exploitation, social decay and the surge of violent crime as well as state incapacity. Carlo Peterson has more.
The South African Communist Party and the National Union of Mine Workers say today's picket is to condemn the surge of violent crime in the Western Cape and government's failure to curb corruption. The SACP and the NUM are calling for the release of the Western Cape Ombudsman's report implicating police officers allegedly captured by underworld criminal networks, the appointment of a provincial intelligence head, and for the City of Cape Town to account for 31 missing firearms as revealed in the 2022 Firearm Inspectorate report. SACP Provincial Secretary in the Western Cape, Benson Mkwensu.
Now we are here to call upon the City of Cape Town, Provincial Government and the police to develop an integrated response to this. And that is why we are calling for the classification and the declaration of violent crime as a provincial disaster.
Mkwensu says a detailed memorandum of demands will be handed to representatives from the Western Cape Government, SAPS and the City of Cape Town. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News at the Provincial Legislature in Cape Town.
And in France, 4 people have been arrested over protests which interrupted a concert by Israel's National Orchestra. According to reports, several spectators repeatedly interrupted last night's performance, including setting off red flares twice. Pro-Palestinian activists also demonstrated outside last night's performance at the Paris Philharmonic Concert Hall. The visit by the orchestra has drawn criticism from several groups ahead of the event over the recent war in Gaza. It's a cloudy Friday afternoon in Gauteng with thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 20 and 22 degrees.
Happening in traffic this afternoon, still got the vehicle broken down on the N1 southbound before the Buccleuch interchange. The centre lane is obstructed. Traffic signals faulty out in the Tshwane area at the N14 in Jean Street, Modderfontein and Van Riebeeck Road, and then Paul Kruger and Lavender. Those lights are out.
A top story in EWN, the City of Joburg is urging informal traders to take the opportunity to apply for trading permits seriously.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
Dr. Dale McKinley, political economist. Should South Africa be part of the G20 and why?
Yes, South Africa, we're the largest economy along with Nigeria on the African continent. We have played a particular kind of geopolitical role over the last 30 years, irrespective of all our problems. Yes, we do belong in the G20. I don't see any reason why South Africa would not be in it, because if you want to basically, which is what Donald Trump wants to do, he wants to basically write off Africa as an entire entity in the global stakes.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actis-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The Dial-A-Bed Black Friday sale is now on with 20% off absolutely everything. Start Black Friday shopping today and save thousands on all our best brands. 40 Winks, Sealy, Simmons, Dunlopillow, King Coil in all sizes, all less 20% and all ready for fast delivery. Dial-A-Bed. Sleep for life.
EWN Sport.
Tolakere, very good afternoon to you. De Kock, de Zorzi, de business, eh?
Absolutely, John. And Quinton de Kock recorded his 22nd ODI century as South Africa claimed an 8-wicket win over Pakistan to level their 3-match series at 1-1. He was assisted in the run scoring by Tony de Zorzi, who scored 76 from 63 balls as the Proteas reached their victory target of 270 with 9.5 overs to spare.
It was an all-round performance. A lot of individuals that could take personal confidence from the game. I think Hubs was brilliant, bowling some tough overs at the end, and Nandre did what he is famous and known for. So I think a lot of guys put their hands up, and I think the coach asked for all-around performance, and quite happy we could deliver it.
Rassie Erasmus has made 6 changes to the Springbok team for tomorrow's outgoing tour test against France, including Boan Venter replacing Oxenchair at loosehead prop. Kobe Serena starts at scrum half and is expecting a fierce battle against the team who are seeking revenge for their 2023 World Cup defeat.
They are going to be charged. They haven't forgotten about the 2023 World Cup, and we haven't forgotten about it as well. It's a rugby game which we all look back to. We all learn out of it and prepare for the following games. So yes, they're going to be charged up, but their emotion and what they have in their camp, like Rassie said, cannot affect us. It cannot affect our way of preparing for the game.
Mengezeli Mbogazi has been fined over 100,000 rand and suspended for 1 match. That follows his red card for unsporting behavior during Bafana Bafana's 2026 World Cup qualifier against Zimbabwe. Mbogazi was sent off in the closing stages of that game, and following a review, FIFA's disciplinary committee have imposed both a financial penalty and a 1-game suspension, citing a need to uphold fair play standards. On the pitch, the Carling Knockout semi-finals both take place in KZN this weekend as Golden Arrows host Marumo Gallants on Sunday, while tomorrow Richards Bay up against Orlando Pirates. Adeslam Madu has shared his thoughts ahead of it.
You know, there is this aim to all the time to have the best performance against Orlando Pirates every time. So we used to it. My players used to it. We try to build this strength, mental strength as well, and we have to be prepared for that.
And Bradley Carnell has been named Coach of the Year in the MLS after his Philadelphia Union side finished the regular season top of the table. The former Bafana fullback was appointed by Philadelphia back in January and revived their fortunes after they had finished the previous campaign in 23rd. Carnell's side sets a club record of 20 wins in the regular season and are currently on a 16-game home unbeaten run. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Right, Zane Johnson with the latest from the roads. Wet in Gauteng. Let's find out what's going on. Zane, good afternoon.
Thanks very much, John. You've got some heavy traffic on the N3 Eastern Bypass between Pretoria Main Road and the Marlborough Drive interchange. Traffic also slowing down on the R21 from the R25 to Olifantsfontein. With that wet weather, please ensure that you slow down, keep a safer following distance, and of course switch on your headlights as you're heading home this afternoon. Traffic signals that are still out in Tshwane, the N14 and Jean Street, Modderfontein and Van Riebeeck, and then Paul Kruger and Lavender Street, those lights lights are down. I'm Zane Johnson. More Eyewitness News traffic in 15 minutes.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So a little earlier I asked, do you have to perhaps edit or maybe even outright censor the things you might say about what you're doing at work when you're in conversation with people that you are close to, involved with, engaged with, the closest people in your life? It came up yesterday at the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee looking into the various police matters, which I do not need to detail for you. You're well aware of exactly what those are. But interestingly enough, Andrea Johnson, who heads the Independent Directorate Against Corruption, her husband is a senior person in crime intelligence. She was saying, listen, there's stuff we just don't talk about because that kind of stuff can be dangerous. So I was wondering, away from perhaps the specific kinds of dangers in their world, because their world certainly more fraught with danger than mine. I was asking you what kind of editing you do. GP says, my husband spills the tea about his workplace, from the cleaning lady all the way to senior management. I don't know his colleagues, but I know about them. It's a daily ritual. GP says, nothing bad though. So, give us your story, please, on 011-883-0702. Where did that expression, spilling the tea, come from?
It's a colloquial term mainly from the housewives when you guys all gather together.
Oh, I see.
So you spill the tea.
Okay, while you're having maybe not tea, but
something a bit stronger.
A little bit stronger. But if there was tea, it would have been spilt a long time ago. Have you ever been in a position where, for whatever reason, there's maybe stuff going on at work, or you are the person in the other part of the conversation where you know that you're not being told everything, but you do understand why?
Sometimes I'm very often in the position of people tell me something that they think is correct.
Yes.
But I know what the true story is.
Oh, that's an interesting one, yes.
And I can't share because also the people that tell me have told me that in secret, and I know that at the right time something eventually will be revealed about the situation. So I just listen. I'm like, have you maybe thought about it this way? But I never say what my knowledge of it is.
Yes.
Because I'm also trying to keep that confidentiality situation between the two of us.
Yo. And I can see why people talking about spilling the tea, because maybe some of that discretion slips when the tea is more like G&T. So give us a call on that, please, on 011-883-0702 and 072-702-1702. It's 17 minutes to 4. Coming up after 4 o'clock, going to take a closer look at the state of play as South Africa continues to pursue principally through a bid committee driven very much by the energy and efforts of Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie to try and bring a Formula One Grand Prix to South Africa. Now, it had seemed to me at least, and I don't think I'm alone in this, I had the impression that Kyalami was in very much of a pole position in that regard, but the Sports Minister's comments this week suggest that there are other contenders. He referred to the Free State, and I think he may have even used the words compelling in regard to a bid that was coming from Cape Town. So more on that. A little bit later, after 4, we'll talk to Sudhir Matai, who is managing editor of the motor racing website. It's called doubleapex.co.za. Check it out and listen out for Sudhir, who'll be with us in about half an hour's time.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So a little bit earlier in the day, we played you a clip of Rosamund Pike. And there's been quite a lot of buzz on social media, particularly from South Africans, saying that in their view, she has done one of the best white English-speaking South African accents. And again, there's more than one of those, but I'm just trying to give you some sort of guideline on what kind of accent she has delivered. And that's in her character, Veronica Vanderberg, who is some kind of arch villain in the third in the Now You See Me series. This one's called Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Looks like a very good movie, actually, although I haven't seen the first two. But how difficult and challenging is it to prepare an international star, wherever they are from and whatever accent they have, to actually do a South African accent? Is it particularly difficult? Well, let's talk to somebody who has done this. She is an acclaimed actress in her own right. Dr. Fiona Ramsey is also an accent coach extraordinaire, also a dialect coach, and we'll get into the difference between the two. But Fiona, welcome and thanks very much for joining us.
Hi, John. Great to be here. Thanks.
So when you are coaching someone to do a South African accent, where do you start? Do you go straight to the script that they've got, or do you put in all sorts of building blocks and try and explain to them why it is that some of us speak the way we do?
So it's, South Africa has a wide range of accents. So when people phone me and say, can you teach a South African accent? I have to say, which one? Because it's such a wide variety. And that is the main challenge about teaching South African accents to people, is they get a smattering of one accent, a smattering of another. So they kind of move between Johannesburg, Cape Town, and maybe even get to Zimbabwe at some point, or Durban. It's very, very precise as to what sounds are made by Durban people and that. So
yes.
That's really the key, is to keeping it on track and believable as one accent. But you do have to start off with some actors, especially older actors, have been exposed to the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is the IPA, which is now really out of use because it's really quite a colonial, map to use. So I've devised a scheme over my many years of doing it, which I call Fiona's faux phonetics.
Okay.
Because I take the sounds of the actor, and from those sounds create the sound that they have to shift towards.
Right.
So it's quite interesting because on Stander, which was one of the first films I ever did, I had an American, Thomas Jane, a Cockney, Dexter Fletcher, and then a Scottish actor called David, and they all had to belong to the Stander gang.
Okay.
So what I took is Thomas's kind of more American sound, so that he came to more of a Joburg accent, if you see what I mean, because it sort of slid there. Whereas the Cockney guy, who started like that, talked more like that. He had more of a, he was much more kind of like that.
Yes.
So you take the quality, and of course the guy that was Scottish, because of his rolled R's, he became very kind of quite Afrikaans.
So I'm sure the rolled R's were very useful in that. Let's take a listen to a couple of people that you've worked with. This is Andy Serkis, who played a part in Black Panther, playing South African. Let's listen to this and then we'll talk.
All front. Explorers have searched for it. Called it El Dorado. They looked for it in South America. But it was in Africa the whole time. I'm the only one who's seen it and made it out alive.
Okay, so I just realized that isn't somebody you work with, but Andy Serkis playing Ulysses Klaue, smuggler and gangster. How do you think he did?
Well, you can see there he kind of demonstrated what I was talking about earlier, that, he's got quite a flat South African accent, but then slips into that desire to roll the R.
Yes.
Which tips him right into the Free State.
Yeah.
Or into Pretoria. So,
and can I just jump in and ask you, does it tip them into caricature? The rolled R is probably the default easiest thing to do, isn't it?
It is. The very interesting thing is that South African accents, even within one accent, have such different shifts in their vowel sounds. They're not consistent. And that is what makes it difficult, because in one accent you might say something like, I don't know where to, just trying to think of an I sound, like wit. He's got a lot of wit.
Yeah.
And sometimes that slips to he's got a lot of wheat.
Yes.
Because they mistake that. That's the big one. I think it's just, who you listen to. And the terrible thing about being on a film set is when overseas actors come to South Africa, they're exposed to the crew, who all have very different accents. And so, that really influences it. In fact, it played a major part in Blood Diamonds.
Yeah.
Because it started off fairly neutral, and fairly Selous Scoutish. But it ended up, because Leonardo had spent so much time with the crew, of him saying brew and things like that, which was not, it was not right for a Selous Scout. They wouldn't have used that. It was too South African and not Rhodesian as it was then.
So, I mean, as you're working with people, do you kind of try, obviously you'll take a break and maybe there's lunch or there's a cup of tea or whatever it might be. Do you encourage them to sort of stay in character? I mean, or, do people need to take a break from being whoever it is they're trying to be?
Well, I think the most important thing about any accent is the sounds are one thing, but you have to look like a South African.
Okay.
And that, if I play an American, I have to look like an American to convince us, because we lip read 30% of what we hear.
Yes.
So the mouth has got to be in the shape that we understand the accent. So that's really the main thing. And I don't encourage actors to think they can speak South African all the time, because they get into very bad habits. And I'm all for one for shifting, that shift that I talk about, the shift of placement, forward and back. But, with technology, John, it's quite, we don't go to places. I mean, yesterday I was on ADR with Michael Fassbender.
Mm-hmm.
We don't go to locations anymore because of the cost,
right,
and because technology is so advanced. So you can do ADR, you just hook up on Zoom or whatever platform they use, and, you're right there. I have to say those are the most successful accents are always when the dialogue coach is present, because you're continually hearing those little shifts that help the actor.
Yeah.
And so, I would encourage anybody that wants someone to do a perfect accent. I'm not aware of the Rosamund Pike accent. I actually wanted to look it up once you mentioned it. But I'd be interested to see it, yeah.
So let's go to a very different challenge, because we focus very much on white South African accents. And then, of course, there is and was Idris Elba playing perhaps the most famous South African of them all.
I have a beautiful wife. I have beautiful children. I want them to walk free in their own land.
We will fight for our freedom! This is your final warning!
They're not breaking any laws.
Fire!
For 50 years, we have been talking.
So that's Idris Elba playing, obviously, Nelson Mandela in Long Walk to Freedom. Would it be fair to say, Fiona, that he didn't sound exactly like Madiba because he didn't try, and maybe you agreed on that you would want him to be a plausible person in that character without being a replica?
Well, I think you've hit, quite an interesting point, because what happens is the actor comes with so many preconceived ideas.
Yes.
Of their interpretation and what aspects of the character they want to highlight, and what, how he wanted to speak. In fact, Idris, there's a speech that he does after Boy Patong, which is the address on the television. And that was one of the first things that we actually shot. And that is extraordinary. That particular scene is extraordinary. I don't think he didn't want to sound like Madiba, but I think he was also very wary of him being such a kind of an icon, in a way, that he didn't want to in any way, like some comics do, lampoon him or caricature him in any way.
Right.
So he kind of had to marry it, and this is the big challenge for actors. They have to marry it with their emotional arc and their emotional kind of resource, as well as the accent. I mean, I think Idris was quite successful. But what is very interesting, when I did Catch a Fire with Tim Robbins playing a South African policeman, and Derek Luke playing a South African person that blew up Cecil, it was so interesting afterwards, because all the white South Africans said that Derek Luke sounded fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And all the black South Africans said, no, he sounded terrible, but Tim Robbins sounded wonderful. So I think a lot has got to do with how you hear authenticity.
And how we hear each other, which is fascinating as well. It's a very interesting thing. Is our accent, and there are many South African accents, so perhaps I'm asking you to generalize where you can't, but if we go back to the kind of the sort of the flat voweled English, Afrikaans, South African accents, are they considered particularly difficult? I mean, you would be working with actors who've done a whole range of things, be they different versions of American accents or, they've had to be other people as well. How do we rate on the hard-to-do list?
We're very hard to do, but actually, contrary to what people believe, the Afrikaans rolled R's is much easier to get. Whether it's kind of authentic or not, it's that I sound that I mentioned. But much harder is to do a subtle South African accent. It's much, much harder because it's got so many sounds from Britain, from Australia, it's got so many sounds that we've got from other people, if you know what I mean. It's because it's English. So there's so many sounds that feel approximately the same, which is where it slips into suddenly Cockney or it slips into Northern or, it's very funny. But that's much harder to do, the South African subtle accent, which is why I'll be very keen to hear Rosamond.
So let's hear Orlando Bloom then, another person you worked with, and then a last question.
Sure.
Orlando Bloom, please. Okay, I thought we had the clip. We don't. So it doesn't, my question doesn't depend on it. Fiona, who decides when the person's ready? I mean, I know shooting has schedules and time is money and all of that, but I would assume, does the director come to you and say, listen, is Michael Fassbender good to go? Or how does it work?
Well, usually you are dictated to. I mean, you have to be ready by a certain time.
Okay.
But one of the biggest challenges I've ever faced in teaching accents, and it happened with Orlando Bloom actually, is usually the actor goes to an accent coach elsewhere and they get a sort of rudiment and then they come to South Africa and they have to unlearn that because, for example, when he started, he said, I want to go to the kitchen for my khaki. And nobody talks like that, not even Afrikaans people. So
yes.
They just sort of generally change a K to a G or something like that.
Right.
They harden the consonants. So we had to unlearn it. And he was very easy to work with. And to my mind, he's got one of the best South African accents. He really was good. But, you mentioned they stay in character. I have a mantra. I develop a mantra for each character. And they've got to say that first thing in the morning to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that and that mantra is geared to try and get their mouths into the right shape and their head into the right shape. So very often if they're playing a particularly vicious person, they'll have a particularly vicious mantra.
Right.
So that's more what I do. I think the shift in and out is more beneficial to getting an authentic accent than staying in it because you pick up bad sounds. It's much
Yes.
better to go out of the accent and then come into it with a fresh thought. But the interesting thing, John, is also that I insist on writing it out in my faux phonetics.
Right.
So that the actor can see it, because what happens to your brain is if you see it in English and you're doing an American accent, as you read it, your mouth is going into English, into South African, whatever your accent
Right.
is, and it changes sort of midway, so you don't get pure sound. Whereas if you're reading a word that's like a foreign language, you approximate it much better. Well, that's what my experience has been.
Thank you so much. Fascinating stuff. So look out for it. Now you see me, now you don't. Look out for Rosamond Pike's accent. And if you've been picking it up on the internet, maybe tell us what you think. Fiona Ramsey, we could have talked for longer and we probably will at a later stage. Accent coach extraordinaire and, of course, a stellar career as an actor herself.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
U.S. government under the president of Donald Trump announced it would be withdrawing millions of dollars in funding around the world for the fight against HIV/AIDS. Now, with South Africa having the highest number of infections of any country in the world, what does that mean?
It means that people who are lost to care are likely going to become ill. Many of them will die. We could see the number of new HIV cases as well.
Nathan Geffen.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
The DP World Lions are ready to defend their legacy of champions, but a hungry challenger is in town for the T20 Challenge. This Saturday, November 8th, the Pride of Jozi faces the newly promoted high-flying Muti Ram Tuskers, the team that swept the Division 2 trophies last year and is eager to prove they belong in the top flight. Witness the ultimate contest at the iconic DP World Wanderers Stadium. The action starts at 1 p.m. Back the pride of Jozi at the DP World Wanderers by purchasing tickets to all 3 T20 matches and stand a chance to win a VIP experience. That'll be for you and 3 friends at a Joburg Super Kings match. Tickets at Ticket Pro or visit the DP World Lions website. The World Test Championship final mace will be on display throughout the stadium from 12 onwards.
Business Outsurance are experts in business insurance for pharmacies, convenience stores, beauty salons, and more. Corney?
Business Outsurance is definitely the best insurance for my business. Bowled out every other insurance house. Honestly, looking at what you need, my installment came down within a day. Definitely the most professional.
Switch to Business Outsurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Visit outsurance.co.za. Switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online. This is EWN.
Severe weather conditions expected to hit Gauteng again this afternoon, and march-on-march movement demonstrates against crime in Durban. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Joburg Emergency Services calling on motorists to practice extra caution on the roads with heavy downpours expected again this afternoon. The Weather Services has forecast thunderstorms for Gauteng, parts of Mpumalanga as well as KZN. It's warning that the conditions can lead to hail, localized flooding and damaging winds. Joburg EMS spokesperson Robert Mulaudzi.
Our faith-based organizations, we are pleading with them to avoid going into river streams to conduct baptisms and cleansing rituals so that we can prevent situations where people might be, congregants might be swept away while conducting these baptisms and cleansing rituals.
At the same time, Tshwane's emergency services is also on high alert with severe thunderstorms on the way today. Officials are urging residents to practice caution under the wet weather conditions. EMS spokesperson Nana Khatebe has advised residents to rather stay indoors.
We would like to urge communities to remain alert and to avoid seeking shelter under isolated trees, not to cross flooded roads, not to cross flooded bridges, and also to avoid crossing streams.
To this now, former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba has moved to clarify that the probe into him is not linked to procurement-related wrongdoing. Gigaba held a meeting with officials from the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption this morning. He had taken to social media earlier today announcing that he had been called to appear in court on allegations linked to state capture-related procurement corruption. Gigaba said the allegations stem from his time as Public Enterprises Minister between 2010 and 2014. The Directorate did not arrest the MP today, but instead met with him to discuss the possibility of formal charges being laid against him. Alpha Ramshwana has more.
Former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba says IDEC's probe relates to allegations that he received an undeserved benefit during his time in cabinet. In a statement, Gigaba says IDEC has given him the opportunity to respond fully to the claims and to provide context regarding the benefits he is accused of receiving. No indictment has been issued at this stage, and Gigaba says IDEC has not presented him with any evidence supporting the allegations. This means he has not been formally charged, and a decision is expected once he submits his response to IDEC. For now, Gigaba will retain his position on the ANC's National Executive Committee as well as his seat in Parliament. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
KwaZulu-Natal civil organisation, the March and March movement, has accused law enforcement agencies of turning a blind eye to criminal activity in Durban. Protesters have taken to the streets today over rampant crime, and they marched to the Point police station where they handed over a memorandum of demands. The group is alleging that the area is notoriously known as a drug haven with no visibility or intervention from police. Nhlanhla Mabaso is there and files this report.
In its memorandum, the organization is demanding swift and decisive action from law enforcement in the area. The group has been joined by a number of political formations in its demonstration, bringing the Point area to a standstill. Most shops have shut their doors as protesters meander through the C-team. They are calling on police to make Point safe again and free from crime. Movement leader Jacinta Ngobese Zuma.
We've got videos from some of our members who have seen police vans going in town collecting money from these Somalian shops and all of that.
EWN has reached out to the police for a response to no avail. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
And in Bulgaria, 6 migrants have died and 4 people were injured after their car crashed during a police pursuit. According to reports, the vehicle was carrying 10 people when it failed to stop for a check and sought to evade capture yesterday. The driver, a Romanian citizen, has since been arrested. Gold is trading at $4,012.84 an ounce. The rand is at 17.37 to the dollar, 22.73 to the pound, 20.03 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $63.39 a barrel.
It's been an afternoon of crashes this afternoon on the N1 northbound before the Brockfontein interchange. The right lane is obstructed. You've got another crash on the N12 eastbound after Edenvale. You've got the right lane close to there. The N12 westbound after Edenvale. You've got 2 lanes close to traffic, and that traffic are backing up around the bend. Also another crash on the R24 eastbound after Barbara Road, and the left shoulder is obstructed.
In your sport, Quinton de Kock records his 22nd ODI century as South Africa level their series against Pakistan. Rassie Erasmus relishing France rematch, and FIFA fines Mbegezeli Mbogazi for unsporting behaviour.
A cloudy Saturday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with isolated thundershowers expected. Johannesburg dropping to overnight lows of 12 degrees, peaking at 22. Pretoria 13 at a high of 22, and Vereniging 11 at a high of 24 degrees. The top story in EWN, Joburg Emergency Service is calling on motorists to practice caution on the roads with heavy downpours expected again this afternoon.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive. It's good to have you with us on this rather damp Friday in Gauteng. Hopefully, though, that doesn't dampen your anticipation and expectation of a wonderful weekend. Anything special coming up? Anything that you are celebrating that we could perhaps add a word of congratulations to? Drop me a note on that on 072 702 1702. Coming up on the show in the next half an hour, going to take a closer look at what's actually happening with South Africa's bid to host a Grand Prix. The year 2027 has been mentioned, 2028 has been mentioned, and while there has been a perception, certainly from the owners of the Kyalami track, that they were in pole position to be South Africa's candidate venue, if that's the correct term. I'm sure you know what I mean, even if I haven't got the words exactly right. Not so it would seem from comments made this week by Sport, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie, saying that there had been, in his view, a compelling presentation from Cape Town. He also said Kyalami's offering was compelling and said there was interest from the Free State as well. So what does all this mean, and how should we understand this? Is this a change in position or a clarification of what the previous position might have been understood to be? Sudhir Matai follows not just our bid, but Grand Prix racing in general, inside out. He's managing editor at doubleapex.co.za, and he'll join us shortly to give us his take on all of this. A little bit later in the hour, Randall's One Song. Randall Abrams back with that. And in our weekly feature, Song, a Book and a Dish, we'll chat to the Vice-Chancellor of Stellenbosch University, who's had a very interesting life and has made some really interesting choices for his song, his book, and his dish. In between that, we'll ask a forensic expert in the light not just of suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu handing over his devices, but also issues that have arisen in the 2 inquiries going on into policing, in particular in regard to Kat Matlala. This came up at the ad hoc committee yesterday, where Andrea Johnson said when they got the devices, they found large amounts of data had been removed. What happens next? We're going to find out after 5. It's 10 past 4.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good afternoon, Dr. John. I am so annoyed every time I hear Americans trying to speak with any African accent because they think we all speak exactly the same, whether you're from Egypt or Nairobi or Cape Town or Namibia. They think we all sound exactly the same. So I get completely put off as soon as they start speaking with a so-called African accent, as if there is such a thing.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting thing to track in movies and series and so on when people come here and do accents. I mean, this is not a uniquely South African challenge, by the way, because I described The Wire as one of my favorite TV series, and quite a few of the characters in The Wire playing Americans involved either in the police or the criminal underworld of the city of Baltimore were actually from the UK. One of them, as it happens, was Idris Elba, who played a character. His surname was Bell. I forget the first name. And the lead character, arguably, although there was more than one character with a prominent role, was Dominic McGuinness, who's English, and he played a Baltimore cop, it would seem, with a huge degree of credibility. Anyway, if you're wondering why we're talking about this, Rosamund Pike is playing a South African in the upcoming movie released in the US next week called Now You See Him, Now You Don't. And we had a long and I think fascinating chat with Dr. Fiona Ramsey, who's a very experienced and acclaimed accent and dialect coach who's worked with many global stars and many people here as well. So if you missed that, I really urge you, go to primemediaplus.com, have yourself a listen. It's 12 past 4.
EWN Traffic.
Zane Johnson again. I keep thinking, Zane, when we get you back, things will be better, but that's not how traffic works, is it?
It doesn't work that way, John, because unfortunately with the wet weather, people tend to drive a little bit more recklessly. They don't increase that following distance and, of course, don't switch on headlights so that they are visible out there. And that's why we have the number of crashes that we have at the moment, John. The one is on the N1 northbound before Brockfontein interchange, the right lane affected. The N12 eastbound after Edenvale, and you've got the right lane closed there. You have the N12 westbound after Edenvale, 2 right lanes closed, because you've got some heavy traffic in that area that's backing up around the bend. Also on the R24 eastbound after Barbara Road, the left shoulder is closed to traffic and those vehicles in the emergency lane. We got a report of a truck broken down on the N1 northbound after the Proof Plus interchange, and the left lane is closed to traffic there. I'm Zane Johnson, more Eyewitness News traffic just at 4:30.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
If you were to say the one thing that South African jazz musicians give to the world that you cannot find anywhere else, what would you say it is?
I think each people have their own stories, and I think that's really unique to every people. South Africa has a very complex history, and somehow that history, when we speak about jazz, that has somehow been some of the indicators that inform how we articulate jazz music. It enunciates from these tiers. So that's a very unique South African story, but I think it's also something much older that is a kind of folk tradition about rhythms.
Dr. Nduduzo Makatini.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The unmistakable voice of jazz and soul returns to South Africa, Gregory Porter. Join the two-time Grammy Award winner for 3 intimate performances now at Teatro Monte Casino on the 20th, 21st and 22nd of November. Don't miss one of the greatest voices of our time, Gregory Porter, live. Book now at showtime.co.za.
At Investec, we not only bank you, we bank your whole family. So wherever you are, they have full access to our services and financial support because their peace of mind is our priority. If you earn 800,000 Rand per annum or more, you may qualify for Investec Private Banking, where you'll enjoy effortless digital capabilities backed by real people who understand you. We'll even switch your account for you. Now that's private banking.
Investec is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. Investec, out of the ordinary.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So as South Africa's bid to host a Grand Prix in this country continues and pushes ahead, some interesting developments this week. And they came after a briefing given on Tuesday on a number of issues in the sports part of the portfolio currently held by Minister Gayton McKenzie. He also deals with arts and culture as well. He spoke about where the venue, where South Africa's bid candidate would be, which South Africa's bid candidate would be, I should rather say. Just quoting from a report on his briefing. I wasn't there myself, but he says, I can tell you now that the discussion is not final, that it's going to be at Kyalami. I thought Kyalami was final, but different cases have been made by other provinces. Free State has put in one, and Cape Town has come with a very compelling bid on why it should be in Cape Town. Kyalami has got a very compelling bid too, just paraphrasing a little bit at the end there. Now, a response from Kyalami through Public Relations Manager Christo Kruger, talking to News 24. Minister McKenzie is on record for having said that it's going to be at Kyalami. He also praised Mr. Venter, referring to the CEO at Kyalami, for making the track available. So this news now, Christo Kruger said, is a little bit jarring because it's now going against his bid steering committee that he himself established, and the outcome has already been decided. So it's a little bit murky. It could become a little bit messy, but let's get some sense of how we make sense of it. And welcome to 702 Drive, Sudhir Matai, who's managing editor of doubleapex.co.za, which has fascinating stuff on every area you could imagine of motorsport. Sudhir, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks very much for giving your time. What did you make of what the minister said? I mean, is this a process that basically he has to follow, say that, it's wide open and anybody could come up with an idea? How did you understand it?
Hi, John. Thanks for having me on air again. Murky is a good way of describing it, as you said a minute ago. The minister has inserted himself into a discussion that doesn't necessarily have to have government involvement, right?
Yes.
So,
okay. Let's try one more time. Sudhir, are you still with us?
I'm here.
Okay, I think the line is not going to be our good friend at the moment, and we want to literally hear every word you have to say. We'll come back to you, we'll sort out the line, and we'll pick up on the Grand Prix conversation in a moment.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insurer Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
The Dial-A-Bed Black Friday sale is now on with 20% off absolutely everything. Start Black Friday shopping today and save thousands on all our best brands. 40 Winks, Sealy, Simmons, Dunlopillow, King Coil in all sizes, all less 20% and all ready for fast delivery. Dial-A-Bed. Sleep for life.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right. Sudhir Matai back with us, managing editor of doubleapex.co.za. Back to the very beginning. What do you make of all of this, Sudhir? Thanks for your time again.
John, thanks for having me on air. I was saying earlier on, you used the word murky.
Right.
And I think that's a very good description of the situation. You know, I said, and you didn't hear me though, that the minister has inserted himself into a discussion and brought government on board where they didn't necessarily need to be. So if we had a private individual who had enough funding to host a race, they would approach a suitable venue and they would pay Formula One and they would come and host a Formula One race here. Government doesn't need to be part of the discussion. Perhaps the minister felt there were some very good headlines to be made. And, you know, from what we see and what we've heard, he enjoys being in the spotlight when it comes to the subject. So he said to Kailami, you are my venue of choice.
Yes.
And he's turned it up. And he said this on air. We've seen video footage of it. He said in Cape Town at an event, on camera again, that if there were to be a race, it would be in Cape Town. This predates what he said to Kailami.
Mm-hmm.
Now we hear there's a third player in the shape of the Free State. I can only imagine at the existing Pakiza Freeway, which has been absolutely abandoned almost since racing was last hosted there. So yes, John?
No. I just want to jump in and ask you this. I mean, your point of departure, though, Sudhir, is saying, well, the minister shouldn't be inserting himself into this matter, nor should government in general. The counter argument to that, though, is that they've made the running, they've put in money, resources, and time making trips to meet with Formula One. It's a bid that may well require government money, and I think Kailami is acknowledged as much of that. Arguably, taxpayers whose money might be spent on this would actually want government to, at the very least, be involved in the decision-making rather than a large check being written to a private corporation.
The national government has said there's no funding for this.
Yeah.
If the can be held by private individuals, it will be.
Okay.
So the entire funding model here is going to rely on sponsorship. Perhaps the project being driven from the DSAC lends an air of credibility, but to date we've seen that it's murky. Again, going back to your word. So, you know, we started with, it's going to be in Cape Town. They're building a fantastic circuit out in the Durbanville, Fisantekraal area. This is the minister's words. To on air talking to the masses and confirming with the owners of Kailami that you are my preferred venue of choice.
Mm-hmm.
There's no suitable venue in the Cape to host a Formula One race. So should there be a race here, this is going to be a completely new facility. So they're talking about, 2027 is just around the corner in real terms. It's
right.
It's 14 months away, 15 months away,
I was
right?
going to say, it's just more than a year.
Just over a year away. So if you were going to host a race in the Cape in a Formula One level grade 1 circuit, you're probably looking at a 2.5-year lead time. That is, provided somebody has the money to build that facility in the first place.
So let me get a sense from you. When a Grand Prix comes to town, never mind the fans and the spectators, but if you just take media, support teams from race sponsors, and every team has a good number of those. The teams themselves, I mean, we're looking at what? 20,000 people flying in? I mean, is there a number that comes to mind?
No, the teams alone would number, let's call it 1,500 people.
Okay.
So you're looking at, under 10,
yes,
probably, 7 maybe. That includes
Ooh, that line again.
6 guys, under 10.
Yeah.
Way under 10, yeah. And you need 90,000 ticket sales to sort of make it viable.
So, I mean, if you, for example, I mean, however compelling the plan for, let's say, Bloemfontein or Welkom is, I think the Pagisa circuit is closer to Welkom, if I'm not mistaken, but somewhere on the road between the two.
Correct.
This is not just about having a track, but you would need people to be able to fly in huge numbers. You would need people to be accommodated in vast numbers. I mean, are there any Grand Prix circuits around the world that are held in places that don't ordinarily cater for that kind of volume of people?
I've read the document that and there are provisions for proximity to an airport.
Okay.
And proximity to X number of hotel rooms required in total, not just for staff, but for visitors coming from abroad and locally. And that number is certainly not met at Pagisa. I attended the MotoGP events that took place at Pagisa, and teams were landing in Johannesburg and taking buses down or charters down to Welkom. And that adds 4 hours to your life. So from a purely logistical point of view,
okay, I think we've got some important points shared with us by Sudhir Matai, but the line just letting us down right at the end as it did in the beginning. But yeah, maybe you've got some thoughts on that. Plenty of food for thoughts, and I enjoyed getting some of the insights into what's involved in a race. It is certainly way, way more than just providing and producing a track. Sudhir Matai joining us from doubleapex.co.za. Head to his website and check out his thoughts on this issue and many, many others, as well as extensive coverage of every angle of motorsport. 27 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
Right, let's get the very latest from the markets. Stephen Curtis ending the week the way we started by the look of it, unless there's been a turnaround.
Indeed, John, good afternoon. Yeah, the JSE All Share down 1.3%, 108,664 points. Financials down 1%, industrials down nearly 2%, and resources down 0.89%. Story of the day, probably the Foschini Group, down nearly 5.5% on the day. They said the group sales were up by nearly 13% in the 6 months to the end of September. Their group gross profit was up by 12.3%, but headline earnings per share were down 21%. The group says their market share in South Africa was maintained. However, their online sales were up by over 55%. So big growth there. The group's shares have dropped by nearly 50% over the year, John, and down again today. So down 5.49%. SAPI down another 6%. Now, they're down more today so far than they were at this point. Yesterday, they actually recovered quite strongly, but they're kind of heading back to where they were on the day that their shares dropped so significantly when they put out that weak outlook. We saw the results yesterday, the interim results yesterday. It was a loss, and people having more time to look at that and sending the numbers down again. Blue, formerly Blue Label Telecoms, they're down 4%. Of course, Cell C is going to come out of there, and Naspers and Prosus down 3%. And Motors, after a strong day yesterday, they're down 2.63%. They were up yesterday on their outlook. John, it looks like they're selling more new cars, including Chinese cars. That's hurt We Buy Cars, which is not Motors, they're competitors. We Buy Cars, of course, in the second-hand car space. And so people have been spending more money on a new Chinese car rather than second-hand, I hate the phrase non, but you know what I mean, a Ford or a something, Honda or something. Boxer up 2.38, Reader Fine up 1.25%, and Valterra and Platinum both up 1%. John, the most extraordinary development in what's been quite a long-running dispute between Mantengu Mining and the JSE. So the JSE is now going to court to force Mantengu to give it emails Mantengu has claimed show that the JSE manipulated its share price. Now, the Mantengu CEO, Peter Miller, he actually claimed in the past, he was on the Money Show, he said that a criminal syndicate is trying to push the value of Mantengu's shares down to take over the company and strip it of its assets. I don't know if you've seen this sort of sponsored content they've been doing.
On the Business Live site, for example.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now I think the JSE's just had enough. Fin24 reporting the JSE wants Mantengu to stop making the claims. And the question all becomes about the evidence. Extraordinary claims. So we obviously wait to see what is going to happen there. In the US, futures markets, they haven't opened yet, but futures markets suggesting that, in fact, indices will open lower. There'll be quite a sharp weekly decline. Lots of people concerned about the valuations of AI stocks in particular. The gold price, $3,999.10 an ounce. Platinum, $1,550.50. And Brent crude, $63.89. The rand a bit stronger, 17.34 to the euro, 20.06 to the British pound, 22.77. John, can I add to your Friday mood? You're going home, it's exciting, you're not looking at the clouds. Elon Musk is going to get $1 billion as a pay package. $1 trillion.
Yes.
That's right. As a pay package, it's the largest corporate pay package in history. He does have to make certain payments, and once he's made those, well, the value goes down to $878 billion.
Okay.
You know, anyway, the next time we play rugby against Pretoria boys, they'll be insufferable. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks very much, Stephen. It is a lot of money. 29 minutes to 5 o'clock. Stephen back with us in about 55 minutes' time. Lots happening between now and then, starting with the news with Mbali Dlamini. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. President Cyril Ramaphosa is holding his first official meeting with Pope Leo in Italy this afternoon. The presidency has confirmed that Ramaphosa has arrived in Rome for bilateral talks with the newly elected head of the Catholic Church. Ramaphosa says discussions will focus on climate justice, peace building and strengthening cooperation on humanitarian as well as emergency relief efforts. Presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya says the president is accompanied by his daughter Guinea Ramaphosa and International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola.
South Africa and the Holy See have cordial bilateral relations, and the visit by President Ramaphosa serves as an opportunity to discuss a renewed focus on collaboration in humanitarian aid, climate justice, emergency response, and peace building.
Magwenya explains the importance of South Africa's meeting with the Pope.
The meeting with His Holiness Pope Leo XIV is of particular significance as it represents South Africa's first high-level engagement with the newly appointed pontiff. His ascension to the papacy on the 8th of May this year provides an important opportunity to reaffirm and strengthen bilateral relations with the Holy See.
The Western Cape Agricultural Department has confirmed a case of foot-and-mouth disease on a farm near Hoda. The affected property and others have been placed under quarantine. All farms with cloven-hooved animals within a 10-kilometre radius are also under quarantine. State vet Dr. Leslie van Helden says these properties are being surveilled.
Any movement of livestock into or within the province must be reported and by law must be accompanied by an owner declaration of origin and health status and a declaration by the recipient that the animals will be isolated on arrival for at least 28 days.
And Athlone Police Station Commander Junaid Alcock says he'll consider all the input made by community members ahead of Najwa Peterson's upcoming parole hearing. The community met last night to discuss Najwa's possible release back to the community on parole. The 63-year-old is serving a 28-year prison sentence for orchestrating her husband Talib Peterson's murder in 2006. Her parole hearing is expected to take place later this month. Ntutu Zelonene has more.
The community of Athlone is divided over the possible release of convicted murderer Najwa Peterson on parole. Some believe she's served her time and deserves a second chance, while others feel she's shown no remorse and should stay behind bars. Athlone Police Station Commander Junaid Alcock says community inputs will help in compiling his report to the parole board for consideration.
It actually made my work to draft this report, made it much easier because now I have a lot of feelings of what the community feel like.
Alcock says he'll present his report to the board next week. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
A cloudy Saturday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with isolated thundershowers expected. Lows of between 11 and 13 degrees and highs of between 22 and 24.
Happening in traffic this afternoon. Several traffic lights and traffic signals are offline or faulty in the Fourways area, and there's also some localized flooding in that area backing up traffic, so you need to allow some extra time for traveling. Clearing the crash on the N12 eastbound after Edenvale, we now have 2 right lanes closed there, and on the R24 eastbound after Barbara Road, the left shoulder is obstructed. Report of a truck broken down on the N1 northbound at Proof Place interchange, and the left lane is closed to traffic.
The top story in EWN, President Cyril Ramaphosa is holding his first official meeting with Pope Leo in Italy this afternoon.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Are you a member of the MK party or did you just vote for the MK party?
No, not a member. I just voted for the MK party just to spite the ANC out.
William, you voted for whom and why?
Africa, I voted Patrick Alliances, but I feel like I'm scared because now what we see in the Malano Commission, how they're exposing the 20% taxes, breaking criminals percent.
Zugi, if an election was to be held tomorrow, do you know who you would voting for?
No, I think in the last election. Listen, I have an idea. I have a short list.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
In a world where everything is instant, some things are worth slowing down for. You took the time to build a life of distinction. Every moment, every milestone, every decision. At Indwe, we take the time to understand your world and craft insurance solutions to protect it. Because true peace of mind is the greatest luxury of all. The right insurance starts with a conversation. It starts with helloindwe.co.za. Indwe Risk Services is an authorized financial services provider.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years. Sweetor. Sweetor has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our new Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetor.com today. Sweetor, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
Smart Steve from Momentum, hello.
How's it, But? It's Jason here, your favorite gymfluencer.
Jason, still lifting more than your selfie stick?
Always, But. Gotta stay shredded, eh? But, I'm worried about one thing. What if a major illness hits? Who's got my back?
Relax, Jason. Momentum's critical illness cover is your spotter. It offers the most comprehensive cover in the market.
Buddy, I'm signing up faster than I could do 10 reps. But I'm worried about something else, eh?
Let me guess. How many protein shakes it takes before you turn into the incredible bulk?
No, man. Will anyone notice if I skip a leg day?
Chat to your financial advisor about Momentum's critical illness cover. Momentum, protecting your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, Tata John. Special occasions this weekend. I'll be celebrating my 1-year anniversary with my wife. Traditional wedding was on the 9th of November. So I'll be celebrating that with my wife, Tsofato. Have a lovely one.
Good afternoon, John. I think it's a bit easier for South Africans to mimic other accents, only because there's the spectrum of accents in South Africa is so wide. We have the Afrikaans male one, we have the politician one, we have, the Model C one, the one that I'm using right now, and the one that you have. Then we have, the regular South African ones. There's the Indian ones as well. So, I think mimicking like a Cockney accent or like an American accent or an Indian one. I mean, we have so many Indians. That's super easy. So, it's interesting though. Rare song from Johannesburg.
Yeah, thank you for that. And to Dumelo and Tsechofatso, a wonderful, wonderful time. And congratulations to, I hope, on Sunday as you mark your first anniversary. Anyone else celebrating, doing something special, drop us a note. We'll send you some good vibes to take with you into the weekend. Dr. Phil responding to our conversation with Fiona Ramsey, accent coach who's worked with all sorts of people, ranging from Idris Elba to Tim Robbins, currently working with Michael Fassbender, helping them to do decent South African accents of all kinds when they perform in international movies. So if you missed that with Fiona, primemediaplus.com is our website. You can just click on an icon for 702 Drive and you'll pick it up there. It was a really good conversation. Back to Dr. Phil. He says, thanks for a fascinating discussion with Fiona, and then adds, it's a pity that some accents are perceived as superior and that many people will not listen to content, but rather focus on a fancy accent. Maybe you've got a view on that as well. 072 702 1702. It's 10 minutes to 5.
EWN Sport.
Tolakele Mganga looking ahead to a really big weekend of sport. Proteas up against Pakistan. Springboks in action as well, and lots of football too. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, John. And the Proteas will look to win their series against Pakistan when they clash in the third and final ODI tomorrow. South Africa levelled up the clashes with an 8-wicket win yesterday. That's thanks largely to Quinton de Kock's 22nd century. Tony de Zorzi added a further 76 as the Proteas reached their victory target with 9.5 overs to spare.
Batting with Quinny is pretty special. When he's in full flight, I don't know many batters are more scared to face the opposition because he hits the ball everywhere and so instinctive. It's incredible to be on the other side watching, and he gave me a lot of advice during that whole partnership. At the beginning it was tailing a bit when I came in, just got a wicket. So his advice was critical, and it was quite cool because I remember when I was 14 at Cares, he was playing on the opposite field against Waterkloof, so I never thought I'd be batting with him for South Africa.
The Carling Knockout semi-finals both take place in KZN this weekend as Richards Bay go up against Orlando Pirates tomorrow, while Golden Arrows host Marumo Gallants on Sunday. Manqoba Mngqithi says Abafana Besithende cannot underestimate their opponents, despite having never lost to them in a competitive game.
History in football is not the most important. What is more important is how you are prepared for the match that you are playing, because the history books are not inside the pitch when you play a football match. Football match is about what happens on that particular day, in that minute, in that 90 minutes, in that 120 minutes, in those penalties if it has to go to that, without any consideration of what might have happened in the past, because in the past, Golden Arrows has never played a semi-final match with Maroon.
In the Premier League, the two big games of the weekend see Manchester United up against Tottenham Hotspur, while City clash with Liverpool. Arno Slot doesn't believe that the result of that game will have any bearing on the title race at this stage of the season.
Our main focus is on consistency at the moment. So, as you probably know, as an Everton fan, you know that we've lost a few games, much more than we usually do. So, and now we've won 2. So our focus is on getting consistent and improving, getting players fit, and then we will see where that will lead to. But at this moment of time, and it's definitely not the only focus we have is the league table.
At the same time, United boss Ruben Amorim has won the League Manager of the Month award for October, while forward Brian Mbemo won the Player of the Month. That's after he scored 3 goals. With United out of Europe and not involved in the League Cup, Amorim has discussed if the schedule has made life easier for his rebuild.
It's not the fact of seeing the positive, it's using the positives. So any situation that you have in our life, you can look in the positive way or in the bad way. If you ask me, you prefer to be here with a cup in Champions League, more money, more players, maybe. Of course, I will say yes, but you have the other side. You have more time to train, to know your players, to arrange everything, the connection between staff and prepare the future.
Tolakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get the latest from the roads. Zane Johnson keeping us up to date on where to go and where to go carefully. Good afternoon.
Thanks very much, John. Very good afternoon to you. There's some congestion happening on the N1 northbound between the Buccleuch interchange and the New Road interchange. You can expect delays of a drive up about 34 minutes. It's calculated in that area. Yeah, several traffic signals faulty or they're offline in the Four Ways area, and a bit of flooding also in the area, and that's causing traffic to back up, and you need to allow some extra time for travelling there. The crashes that still need to be cleared: the N12 eastbound after Edenvale, 2 right lanes closed to traffic. The N12 westbound after Edenvale Road, you still have those 2 lanes closed to traffic on that side. And the report of a truck broken down on the N1 northbound at Proof Plus interchange. The left lane is closed to traffic, so just be careful. You have to sort of negotiate your way around that truck, and it's quite a big truck in that area. There's a stationary vehicle on the N12 eastbound after the Kalulis interchange, and that vehicle is in the right lane. I'm Zane Johnson. More Eyewitness News traffic at 4 o'clock.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, 16 minutes to 5 now. By the way, we always ask you for your views on things, but please feel free to act as traffic eyes and ears for us as well. If there's something we're not covering and you've seen a snag or something developing into something much worse than that, please do let us know, and we'll make sure we feed that to Zane and into the traffic system generally here at 702, 4:45.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
We were talking a little bit earlier about our devices and how dependent we are on them. Cell phones come to mind, but for some people, smartwatches and other expensive, can I call them gadgets? I don't like the word gadget. It seems to make light of just how sophisticated these devices are on the one hand and how important they've become. But we got into a conversation about rather interesting ways in which people have either lost or damaged these all too valuable possessions. So, Tolakela, I was wondering, have you ever lost a cell phone, broken a smartwatch, poured tea on a laptop?
I've lost a cell phone. I remember I was walking down when I was still a student at Wits, just walking down, bumping into someone, my bag fell, picked it up, and then I went into the campus itself. And it's only like once I sat down at my desk for my first lecture, I was like, everything is in my bag except for my phone. And that's how I realized like how quickly people will scam you of your phone. But I'm always very careful with devices and water. I remember the first time I got my smartwatch, I got into the pool and I was like, oh my gosh, I spent so much money on this watch. And then it was just like, oh, recording your swimming. And I was like, oh, that's actually what it's for.
Well, that's a really, really wonderful. My biggest loss was before the days of smart devices. I was covering a football match at Ellis Park, and there was a huge crowd, and I can't remember who was playing, but there was a buzz and a passionate conversation, and I got so absorbed and caught up in this that I left my camera bag. I put the bag on the ground, and I was, so that I could make better use of my hands to make the point that nobody else was accepting. And then walked some distance and thought, oh my goodness, it is the most expensive device-related mistake I've made, partly because the cameras weren't mine.
Oh.
So I had to replace them. So if you've had a disaster with a device, your story, please, maybe you can look back on it with a degree of humor or not. No pressure. Call us on 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702 if you would like to chat. Now, I don't know if you've got strong views about if South Africa, or some might say be optimistic, when South Africa gets a Grand Prix. Do you have any views on where it should go? Should it be a developmental tool of some sort and take it to an area that perhaps needs a little bit of a boost? I don't see that working, if I was absolutely honest, because you got to get people in and out quickly, it would seem. And if you are to make any money from the ticket sales, and the number Sudhir Matai gave us is you want to sell at least 90,000 tickets to try and cash in. Noble goals or practicalities? Joburg has Kailami. Cape Town has an intention, I think, to have a street circuit, although there was talk of something out in Durbanville. But what are your views? Give us a call on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. Now, I was asking people about special occasions over the weekend. This comes from Leo La. Okay. I yeah, anyway, that's the name on the message. I joined Standard Bank over 26 years ago in a department known as FASO, No Investor Services. FASO staff from 20 years ago will be having a reunion at Ridgevlei tomorrow. Our contact list is over 100 ex and current employees. May your day be wonderful. I think it's fantastic when people get together for those kinds of reunions because it's an opportunity to shoot the breeze and say, remember when. But I would think it's also a real opportunity to have a celebration of work that you've done together and friendships you've made. So hope you have a good day and I hope all is well in Ridgevlei tomorrow. 11 minutes to 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Okay, it's time to do what we do every Friday at around this time. It is coming up for 10 to 5. It's when we spend time with Randall Abrams and we do Randall's one song. Randall, a very good afternoon to you. I'm going into absolutely fresh territory here. This is a song from 1968. It appears from the bit I've managed to glean online to be sung by a Japanese movie star. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to you. What are we going to hear? And tell us why you think we ought to hear it. Good afternoon to you.
Thanks so much, John. Well, the reason is I was in Japan for about 8 days.
Okay.
I got back yesterday. I've been before, but it was a very long time ago, 11 years. And it was quite fascinating to go back. Obviously, a lot has changed. Technology has changed. Tastes have changed. But obviously, Japanese culture is still very, very strong. I was lucky enough to go out to Kyoto and go to some of the temples. Tourism has taken off dramatically in Japan. So, in fact, they're introducing new laws and levies next year in order to kind of curb tourism. And I thought that therefore it would be appropriate to play something. This is from, I've been listening to a lot of compilations lately. So this is from a compilation album made by a great compilation label called Ace, who initially started out looking at female singers from the 60s on various British labels, and then expanded to both Swedish and Japanese singers. And this was, in fact, the first flourishing of independent songs, not just cover versions, from about 1964 in Japan. It was the first growth of what they called the beat groups, growing out of the Beatles. And then songs of this ilk, as I say, by female singers. And this, obviously, it's got that kind of big band, big arrangement, movie theme, sounds like something out of James Bond. And I think the three big influences were movie soundtracks, bossa nova, and the Beatles. And I thought that therefore, as I say, because I've just been away, I thought it would be appropriate.
Okay, so the artist is Reiko O'Hara. The song is called Peacock Baby. We'll take a listen and then we'll talk. Yeah. Okay. So Randall, what's going on there? I mean, this is the artist is, as I understand it from the bit I found on the internet, a very acclaimed and popular Japanese actress. They've taken music, as you said, you sketched out the influences that are largely external, although the song is sung in Japanese. Was it a success? Who enjoyed it if it was? And what did it maybe prefigure? Because there seem to be very, very strong musical performers from, and I'm generalizing hugely, but from countries like Japan and Korea that are influencing the other way. But we're in the 60s right now.
So, John, as I say, these were kind of singles by, artists that went on to be very successful. They competed in the charts with, the likes of the Beatles, who were obviously, a massive worldwide force at the time. They toured Japan. And I think the other thing that it prefigured was Japanese rock groups. So, I mean, by the late 60s and the early 70s, there were some very, very influential Japanese progressive rock groups who took the music, moved completely away from this, which is quite, pop, for want of a better word, and then went on to create really important and influential rock music. I think what is significant, though, is, even though the rock music that came after is so different and divergent, these artists gave Japanese singers, musicians, the feel that they shouldn't just do cover versions, that they could be successful with songs of their own. And I think that, as I say, the reason I chose it was because it was the first flowering of those sorts of successes.
So, I mean, just back to your trip for a moment. I mean, live music, is it a big thing? I know that, you would have done other things while you were there, but who's doing live music in Japan from what you can see, and who's going?
So I went to Kyoto on last Saturday night, and one of the company that traveled with us, guy was actually in a band in South Africa. He went off to a rock kind of a hard rock concert in Tokyo. Massively well attended, only Japanese performers. So there's a very, very big market for Japanese music in Japan. And then just the week before we were there, Oasis were playing at the stadium in Tokyo, and they were at the Tokyo Dome, and they were sold out for 2 nights. So live music certainly, very healthy in Japan.
And just finally, I mean, does Japan have an equivalent of K-pop? And I'm a little bit out of my lane here.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
if I'm
J-pop.
Okay.
And
tell us more.
There was a group called Snowman, consisting of kind of 5 guys. I imagine you can think Backstreet Boys or the group that Justin Timberlake was in. And in fact, their album had just been released. The other thing about Japan is they still have really big record stores like Tower Records, which you won't find in the UK or the US, right? Tower Records is very much alive and well. And I went off to Tower Records, and there were fans there who'd literally come to take a photo of the new Snowman record cover. So they were either taking a photo of the album cover, which was emblazoned on a wall, or they were posing inside the photo. So certainly from, in terms of eclectic taste, everything from J-pop to rock to international music, very well received and extremely successful.
Thanks so much. Really interesting trip out east with Randall Abrams on today's edition of Randall's One Song. He's back with us at the same time next Friday.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
17 South African men are trapped in the war-torn Donbas region in Ukraine. The South African government says it has received a distress call from the group. 16 of the men are from KwaZulu-Natal and 1 from the Eastern Cape.
Government says the men were apparently lured to join the mercenary forces involved in the Russia-Ukraine war under the pretext of lucrative employment contracts. It is illegal for South Africans and local entities to give military assistance to foreign governments or participate in armies of foreign governments.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS LEGAL to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
LLB graduates can fast-track their legal career with the Law Society of South Africa's PVT School for Legal Practice. LPC accredited, this 4-month practice-ready course, which is taught by practicing lawyers, can reduce your PVT contract by 12 months for admission. Study by day, after hours, or via distance at campuses nationwide. The first 2026 intake runs from January to April. Applications close 31 October 2025. Apply now at lssalead.org.za. That's lssalead.org.za.
This is EWN.
Zimbabwean opposition leader arrested in Pretoria with explosives, and severe weather conditions expected to hit Gauteng again this afternoon. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. We begin with news just in. Police have confirmed the arrest of a former Zimbabwean MP in Pretoria this afternoon after he was allegedly found with explosives in his vehicle. The politician was arrested alongside a 78-year-old man. The pair faces a charge of possession of explosives and are expected to appear in court on Monday. Police spokesperson Athlenda Mate.
Police received a tip-off that there were people traveling in a Ford Fiesta in Pretoria in the early hours of Friday morning. Police spotted the said vehicle. They stopped it and found 26 blasting cartridges and 15 capped fuser connectors. The pair have been arrested and will appear before the Pretoria Magistrate Court on Monday.
Retired Deputy Commissioner of Ekurhuleni Metro Police, Revo Spies, has provided crucial insight into a dodgy deal struck between acting EMPD head Julius Mkhwanazi and criminally accused tender tycoon Vusimuzi Matlala. Spies began his testimony at the Madlanga Commission this afternoon. He has unpacked a letter penned and signed by Mkhwanazi that instructed EMPD officials in 2021 to accept and register 4 vehicles to the city of Ekurhuleni donated by Matlala. This after Mkhwanazi unlawfully entered into an agreement with Matlala's security company, CAT VIP Protection. Oren Singh reports.
Retired Deputy EMPD Commissioner Revo Spies has accused the acting head Julius Mkhwanazi of having taken a narcissistic approach in instructing EMPD officials to accept and register 4 vehicles from tender tycoon Vusimuzi Matlala with the city of Ekurhuleni. In a letter dating back to October 2021, Mkhwanazi, who was acting Deputy EMPD Chief at the time, wrote and signed a letter confirming an endless working relationship between EMPD and CAT VIP Protection. The deal would subsequently see Matlala fitting several of his private security vehicles with blue lights, allowing him to operate with impunity across Gauteng. Spies says Mkhwanazi had no authority to enter into such a deal.
There will never be allowed in law, the Municipal Finance Management Act or any local government related acts, to have an endless working relationship with anyone. There is fixed terms to anything.
Spies will continue with his testimony on Monday. Aryan Singh, Eyewitness News.
Former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba says he's willing to cooperate with law enforcement agencies as they investigate corruption allegations against him. Gigaba met with the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption today over claims that he received undue benefits while serving as minister between 2010 and 2014. Earlier this morning, Gigaba posted on social media that he had been summoned to appear in court, but IDAC has since clarified that he has not been charged at this stage. Alfara Mshwana has more.
At around 7 o'clock in the morning, ANC-NEC member Malusi Gigaba announced on social media that the NPA had notified him that he was being charged with procurement-related corruption. However, the investigating Directorate Against Corruption later clarified that Gigaba has not been charged and will not be appearing in court today. Gigaba now says that during his engagement with IDAC, officials informed him that they are investigating allegations that he received undue benefits while serving as Minister of Public Enterprises. The MP says he will cooperate fully with the ongoing investigation, but maintains that he has done nothing wrong. Gigaba insists that the probe does not relate to any decisions he made in his capacity as minister. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Joburg Emergency Services is calling on motorists to practice caution on the roads with heavy downpours expected in Johannesburg this afternoon. The weather service has forecast thunderstorms for Gauteng, parts of Mpumalanga and KZN. It's warning that the conditions could lead to hail, localized flooding and damaging winds. Joburg EMS spokesperson Robert Mulaudzi.
Our faith-based organizations, we are pleading with them to avoid going into river streams to conduct baptisms and cleansing rituals, so that we can prevent situations where people might be, congregants might be swept away while conducting these baptisms and cleansing rituals.
And in France, 4 people have been arrested over protests which interrupted a concert by Israel's National Orchestra. According to reports, several spectators repeatedly interrupted last night's performance, including setting off red flares twice. Pro-Palestinian activists also demonstrated outside last night's performance at the Paris Philharmonic Concert Hall. The visit by the orchestra has drawn criticism from several groups ahead of the event over the recent war in Gaza. Gold is trading at $4,012.87 an ounce. The rand is at 17.37 to the dollar, 22.73 to the pound, 20.08 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $63.38 a barrel.
Happening in traffic this afternoon, report of a truck broken down on the N1 northbound at Proof Plus interchange, the left lane closed to traffic. A stationary vehicle on the N12 eastbound after Galuli's interchange, and traffic signals faulty in Tshwane at the N1 and New Road. At the N14 and Jean Street, those traffic lights are down.
In your sport, Quinton de Kock records his 22nd ODI century as South Africa level their series against Pakistan. Rassie Erasmus relishing France rematch, and FIFA fines Mbegeze Limbogazi for unsporting behavior.
A cloudy Saturday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with isolated thunder showers. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 12 degrees, peaking at 22. Pretoria 13 at a high of 22, and Vereeniging 11 at a high of 24 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Police have confirmed the arrest of a former Zimbabwean MP in Pretoria this afternoon after he was allegedly found with explosives in his vehicle.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 7 minutes past 5. Good to have you with us as the weekend draws near, as the traffic thickens, as excitement mounts ahead of South Africa's the Springboks game against France, the revenge match. Something of a revenge tour, I suppose, because France would like to avenge our victory over them, and I would think the Springboks would certainly like to remind Ireland that even though we lost to them in the group stages, we did go on to win the World Cup. So it's a good end of season tour, I must admit, and tomorrow's game is going to be fabulous. I wish I was there. Are you there by any chance? Maybe you're in Paris because you have other business there. Maybe you are in Paris going to the game and you just happen to be listening to us online, which you can do on the Prime Media Plus app. If you're ever traveling, by the way, and far away, you just need to get connected, and we're there, right there on the Prime Media Plus app. But if you are in Paris, give us a call or drop me a note. I'd love to hear from you. I will bite my tongue to still my envy and hear your story. Pretty exciting, I would think. Coming up on the show, you heard Oren Singh a moment ago talking about evidence given at the Madlanga Commission, very much in the spotlight. Acting EMPD head Brigadier Julius Mkwanazi, and of course Kat Matlala, very much central in that story as well. Oren Singh going to add some more details to what he's already told us in the bulletins. He's up with us shortly. And then, staying with all the things that have come out of that press conference given back in July by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has surrendered his devices to the police. But it comes against the background of IDAC head advocate Andrea Johnson testifying to Parliament's ad hoc committee yesterday, and she made a number of points about a huge range of things. But what she did say is that the cell phones that had been surrendered by Kat Matlala to the police, I'll just read for you what she said. The cyber expert informed the investigators that a lot of data had been deleted. So how does all this work, and how does a skilled forensic team get around what one could argue is interference with potential evidence? We'll talk to forensic investigator Craig Pedersen about that. We'll do that at about 20 minutes past 5.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. Most expensive loss I've had was being pickpocketed in the Checkers in Greenside, Johannesburg. Went in to quickly buy some items for dinner. It was winter, had the cell phone in my pocket. Two ladies became very close, all of a sudden bumping into me. And only when I left the shop did I realize that that's actually the reason for that. Unfortunately, the shop wasn't particularly interested, confirmed that the cameras weren't working, and that they don't take responsibility for problems like that inside the store. So yeah, that was a 16,000 Rand cell phone gone. This was back in 2016. So wasn't very happy about that experience.
Hi, John. Good afternoon. Tomorrow is my birthday. I'm Tshegofatso from Johannesburg. Thank you.
Good afternoon, John. Just wanted to talk about the F1 race that we're trying to host in the country. I think from your interview with Sudil, Mr. Gayton McKenzie is doing what every Minister of Sport has done in the past, and I guess should do. That department, as we know, is run on vibes. And that's what Mr. Gayton McKenzie needs to do. Keep the vibe going, keep momentum going, keep the story in the news, keep people talking about it, and hopefully some of that vibe will rub on to the decision makers and they will make the decision to bring a race to South Africa. That said, let's be honest, that race is not going to be held in the Free State. That's not going to happen. The only viable place is Kailami. And if it does go to Cape Town, then when this was first mentioned, Cape Town was talking about potentially hosting a street race. A street race is a nightmare because the amount of changes that have to be made on the roads, on the public roads, I don't think it's going to work. So let's just keep it at Kailami. Let's not bring other things into it because they're not going to happen. Let's be honest. Thank you.
So thank you. I mean, lots and lots in those voice notes. First of all, Tshegofatso, happy birthday. I hope the celebration is a wonderful one. Let's turn to the Kailami conversation. We've got this from King, who says, Kailami is conveniently located near both Sandton and Pretoria, with nearby areas such as Waterfall and OR Tambo Airport. The transportation system is efficient. Not sure I'd entirely agree with that, but let's continue with King. And accommodation options are widely available. I definitely agree with that. Overall, King concludes, I would say Gauteng is around 70% ready. Now, let me just make this point as well. In regard to the point that the minister's job is to keep the vibes going, I don't entirely agree that that's a fair summation of what Minister McKenzie has been doing, because we've had lots of very, very vibey sports ministers who are always at the airport when people return from triumphs on foreign fields, be they Olympics or football or rugby or whatever it is, not quite as vigorous, let's put it that way, in actually making sure that money gets to development and where it's needed. Jury's still out on the current sports ministry on what support there will be for development. But let's get back to the minister and the Grand Prix. I think he's done more than create vibes. Seems to me he's gone out, he's held meetings. You don't just simply get the opportunity to stand up and say 2.5 billion rand will be forthcoming from private sector backers unless you've actually met with them and had those conversations. So I think there's been a lot more spade work done in pursuit of this bid and in some other things that he is doing. I'm not in support of every single priority that he's set out, and I've expressed my views, for example, on public money going towards funding VAR. But I think on the Grand Prix thing, yeah, he is not just revving engines. I think he's trying to put fuel in tanks as well. That's my view. Let's get yours on 011 883 0702 and 072 7021 702, 14 past 5.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142. Do it now and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Zane Johnson is your man to guide you home. Good afternoon again.
Thanks very much, John. Rainy weather, please ensure that you switch on your headlights and keep a safer following distance as you head home this afternoon. We've got a crash on the N1 northbound before Linwood Road, and the left shoulder is closed to traffic, so be careful if you're out there. Several traffic lights are faulty out in the four-ways area, and please treat those as a four-way stop, and don't try to block the intersections if you are heading through those traffic lights that are faulty. You've got a truck broken down still on the N1 northbound at Proof Plus interchange, and the left lane is closed to traffic. Out in Tshwane, you've got a number of traffic signals faulty, the N1 and New Road, the N14 and Jean Street, Modderfontein Road and Van Riebeeck Road, and then Paul Kruger and Lavender. Those lights are all down. I'm Zane Johnson. More Eyewitness News traffic just after 5:30.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance Pointsmen can't help you pick the perfect playlist, but they can help ease the traffic congestion so you can get out of the city for your weekend getaway. With the Outsurance Pointsmen on the roads for the past 20 years, we can all get where we need to be, quickly and safely. Outsurance really means it when they say you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using #PointsmenLove, licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
16 past 5 to the Madlanga Commission in a moment. But first this, I did ask if anyone's going to the rugby tomorrow. Lutando sends us this, formerly of Alberton. But here's her current situation. I moved to France after marriage to a Frenchman. And for my birthday in October, he has gifted me tickets to the Springboks match in Paris. I will be the only South African in our group, so either way, someone in the group will be happy with the result. I'm actually packing for the drive to Paris right now, and I will be listening in. Lutando, I hope tomorrow night your husband sounds fabulous, but I really hope it's not his night tomorrow night. It is, after all, your birthday. 16 minutes past 5.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
Right, let's bring in Oren Singh now, who's been keeping a close eye on a very interesting thread all through the week at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Much of it is centered around evidence from the suspended police chief of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. Today, a former Deputy Commissioner, Revo Spies, has also been weighing in with some information and some insights. Oren, a very good afternoon to you. All of this points to, and this has been the main focus of, as I understand it, the testimony of Mr. Spies, the relationship between Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi of the EPMD and Kat Matlala, and what seems to be a whole set of arrangements around some gifting of vehicles to the police department, but lots of gift of access, it would seem, to the VIP protection service that Kat Matlala has been running. Tell us this for your impression, please. I mean, do you get a sense that Matlala came to people like Brigadier Mkhwanazi, or do you think it was the other way around?
It's hard to say, John, but there was definitely a relationship there. I mean, if we look at what's been presented at the commission today, there was a letter that was pulled up dated 16th October 2021, in which Brigadier Mkonazi unlawfully abused his power in saying that he is the commanding authority at EMPD, which in itself was incorrect because at the time the commanding authority was that of the chief of police at EMPD, Isaac Mapiyeye, and Brigadier Mkonazi at the time was just an acting deputy chief at EMPD. But he writes a letter instructing EMPD officials that he has entered into an agreement with Cat Matlala's company, VIP Cat Protection, and essentially that they need to proceed to register 4 vehicles. These are BMW vehicles that CAT has supplied to the city, and that's specifically the city of Ekurhuleni. In exchange for this inverted commas donation, they would form a working relationship in which they would support CAT VIP. And the words used in that letter is provide endless support to CAT VIP. Now, when we heard from the retired deputy of EMPD, Revo Spies, testify this afternoon, he said there's no such thing in any government department related to an endless working relationship. Every government department works within the Municipal Finance Management Act, and there are conscripts in which you enter into contracts, a 3-year, a 2-year, whatever the case is. There's no such thing as an endless working relationship. And he said that in itself was wrong. But further to that point, John, is the aspect of blue lights. Now, Revo Spies was very harsh when he spoke about this blue light arrangement. From what we heard yesterday and today from the EMPD officers that testified, Brigadier Mkonazi is refuting the allegations that he himself installed the lights into Cat Matlala's private vehicles or security vehicles. But Spies says there's a massive danger that comes with installing blue lights. He went along the lines of outlining across the world, blue lights are known for law enforcement. Going to say that in South Africa, private security use white lights, and they have specific ways in which they're allowed to use those lights. But he paints a picture of how the fact that blue lights are so easily available now in South Africa, it's become a major problem for law enforcement in that they are trying not to abuse their power because in some instances you have the blue light gang going around impersonating police officers, and this creates a massive problem for not only law enforcement but the public, who are now fearful whenever they see blue lights coming up behind them to flag them down. They don't know if it's a legitimate police officer or if it could be a hijacker or kidnapper.
Thank you very much, Oren Singh. All sorts of... And the fascinating thing there about the last points that Oren was making is what's becoming more and more evident as these inquiries unfold is the immediate consequence and impact on ordinary people of all these things going on within and between different arms of the criminal justice system. Alarming, to put it mildly. It's 5:21.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's turn to something else then. Suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has handed over his devices. I think there was a cell phone or two, a tablet, laptops, and some other items. The details of the specific devices is not particularly important. But what was really interesting is that the day before that, the head of the investigating directorate against corruption, Andrea Johnson, described how cell phones that had been brought to IDAC, as they are known, were from Cat Matlala, had a lot of data deleted from them. She said all they had while they were in possession of the cell phones was during the download process. They had no access to them either before or after that. This was all done in the presence of a police official. The phones, she says, were then returned. She said we did not have to switch them on because they were already on when they arrived. And that, she seemed to be saying, was something a little bit suspicious. So how does all of this work? Let's understand it better. And welcome to the show, forensic investigator Craig Pedersen. Very good afternoon to Mr. Pedersen, and thanks so much for giving us your time. If in the course of an investigation it's clear that data has been deleted from a cell phone, is that it? Or are there possibilities of recovering that data, or at the very least having a sense of what was deleted, which may give you some clues as to motive?
I think it's a great question, and it's something that at a lab level we certainly fight back and forward with every day.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain elements of data that's stored on a cellular device that, even though they're deleted, they can be recovered within a reasonable pace of time.
Right.
Photograph artifacts, for example, SMSs are quite common to recover. The challenge comes where you have a lot of variables: the age of the device, the backup mechanism it chooses, the operating system, which updates are run on, let's say, WhatsApp, for example, WhatsApp being rather a topical one in the last couple of weeks. The WhatsApp database does store messages. However, it has become very good at completely eradicating the traces of those messages from the message store as and when they're deleted, especially if they're marked as self-deleting.
Yeah. Is there a difference between data and messages? I know that I would assume messages are a subset of data, but because some data in a phone may not necessarily have been derived from an exchange via a platform like WhatsApp, are the opportunities of recovery different if, for example, somebody moved data from a laptop, for example, either of their own or in direct contact with a laptop of an associate, as opposed to something that's moved through WhatsApp for the sake of argument, where I would assume the footprints remain?
Oh, absolutely. You could take the example in the cellular context of a photograph that's stored on a phone. It's a native file that rests in a particular directory. It's a complete object. A WhatsApp message, however, is an entry stored in a database, kind of like a cell within Excel versus the Excel file. They're two very different objects, and you work with the data differently, and the prospects of recovery are very different for the two. If we were talking about laptop to laptop transfer of data or email exchange, there'd be a much greater potential to recover that data. However, I must stress that in the particular context of what we're discussing here and those devices, you would certainly see the footprint that somebody had deleted it, and you would have to question the intent and the timing.
Yeah, it's you can't do everything unnoticed anymore, it would seem. But just a return to what Advocate Andrea Johnson highlighted as part of her testimony in Parliament, Mr. Pedersen. She said the devices were on. Now, what is best practice in that regard? If you are involved in a forensic investigation, let's say I work for a company and the company is wanting to understand better what it is I've been up to, would you expect to get those devices switched off, which would then be switched on in your presence? What's protocol there?
No, absolutely. In terms of the best practice for international protocol there, the device should be on. In fact, ideally, when I come and I acquire the device from you, I'd even want to go as far as to plugging an external power bank to make sure that it stays on. The reason being that to face value, you only have one PIN code on your phone. You don't. There's a before first unlock and after first unlock. So you could have a password of 1234, but if the phone reboots, you would first have to put in 9999, then the 1234, and you don't want the risk that you're given a phone that seems to be alive and viable. You then would have to absolutely unequivocally, best practice, put it into flight mode, disable Wi-Fi, disable Bluetooth, and place the device within the Faraday bag so that no external communication or interference can reach that device and change anything on it. That would be best practice, and you should keep it alive. If you're going to transfer custody from one department or one entity to another, you would actually just verify for them the seals on the bag. It must be sealed, can't be unsealed. Unseal it, verify that the device is on and functional, and that it's in flight mode with Bluetooth disabled, with Wi-Fi disabled, etc. So right, there you go, there's the device, and here's my acquisition report if necessary for you to continue on with. Protocols in place and international best practice that are followed for that.
Thank you very much. It's intricate stuff, but it's important, I think, that we better understand, because these conversations are coming up as they did yesterday in Parliament, where questions are raised about protocol and practice in regard to devices, and they've been crucial so far. The scrutiny and scanning of what's gone on the cell phones of central players in the inquiries that, of course, have been prompted by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi all those weeks back in July. 702 Drive, it's 28 minutes past 5. Thanks to Craig Pedersen, forensic investigator, for giving us some insights there. Let's get the latest business with Stephen Curtis.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, a very good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, John. The JSE All Share down 1.14% at the end of the day. The US is also down, I must just say. The All Share at 108,846 points. Financials down 0.72. Industrials down 1.83. Resources down 0.75% on the day. The Foschini Group down nearly 6.5%. They said their group sales were up nearly 13% in the 6 months to the end of September. The problem is their headline earnings per share. They were down 21%. They did say their market share in South Africa had been retained. They spoke about how difficult the market was. Their online section is up over 50%, but the sort of share price decline for the Foschini Group continues. Same story for Sappi. So they did have a bit of a bump yesterday. They did surge briefly after their earnings came out. They're now down 6.25% on the day, pretty much wiped out what they won yesterday. So still back in the territory of where they were after that outlook report a month ago that sent them down quite strongly. Sibanye-Stillwater down 3.75%, also giving up quite a significant share of what they earned yesterday after that sort of bumper update, which shows how much more platinum and gold they've been able to produce and the relatively low cost with which they're doing it. Process and Naspers both down by around 3%. Boxer up 1.76%, Sasol up 1.74%, and Valterra up 1% on the day. The JSE going to court as Fin24 is reporting to force Mantengu Mining to give it emails Mantengu's claim shows the JSE is manipulating its share price. Mantengu's made this extraordinary claim for quite some time. They've gone on the offensive through sort of paid adverts and content in various online publications, business publications this week. The JSE's clearly had quite enough of that, and they've decided now to go to court to stop Mantengu from making the claims. Essentially, the claim from Mantengu is there's a criminal syndicate that is trying to push the share price down so that they can strip the company of its assets. In the US, very much a bleak day, John, and I think this is all about AI valuations again. The Dow Jones is down 0.15, the Nasdaq is down 1.07, the S&P 500 is down 0.56. The gold price, $3,993, platinum, $1,540.10, Brent crude, $63.71, the rand to the dollar, 17.33 to the euro, 20.05 to the British pound, 22.80. On the Money Show tonight, we'll talk about a new app that's all about AI and your health. So it'll give you, John Perlman, very specific recommendations. I mean, I had an app like that once for driving, John, and I can tell you what I did with that app. We will also talk tonight about fine dining and a big surge in traveling in South Africa. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Stephen with the Money Show between 6 and 8. It's now 28 minutes to 6 o'clock. Let's get the latest eyewitness news. And Bali Dlamini standing by.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Members of Parliament have cast doubt on a South African National Defence Force survey which found that the level of morale among soldiers is good. Members of the Joint Standing Committee on Defence questioned the high morale score, saying the reality for soldiers on the ground on deployment says otherwise. Defence Minister Angie Motshekga and members of the SANDF's leadership briefed Parliament today about the latest survey that measured the views of thousands of respondents. Babalondenze reports.
The SANDF survey shows how most members scored the department above average on training and the image of the Department of Defense as an employer. The department says in a military context, high morale mitigates the development of battle stress for Defence Force members and increases their level of performance. The factor that registered a negative rating was the availability of resources. But committee member Carl Niehaus questioned the scores and whether members were pressured.
That the presentation that we have received here today does not reflect the reality of what we encounter in the South African National Defence Force.
Minister Angie Motshekga defended the survey, saying it's mainly to help the department.
So that's why I will never doubt the truthfulness of the report, because this is not done for anybody. It's done by the employer for itself to manage its environment.
Motshekga says measuring morale is important in preventing any future mutiny by soldiers. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News.
The deputy principal of a school in Ekurhuleni had to be rushed to hospital earlier today after being gunned down. He was entering the Dinoto Technical Secondary School in Davidton when he was shot. Police are investigating a case of attempted murder and no arrests have been made yet. Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona says the incident delayed the matric exams.
We are happy that the process continues, but quite concerned that anyone will come to our space and want to harm our officials in that fashion. So we just want to call upon law enforcement agencies to work tirelessly and make sure that they apprehend the perpetrators. And we will be actually happy if we can see that the perpetrators are arrested.
The Western Cape Agricultural Department has confirmed a case of foot and mouth disease on a farm near Gouda. The affected property and others have been placed under quarantine. All farms with cloven-hooved animals within a 10-kilometer radius are also under quarantine. State vet Dr. Leslie van Helden says these properties are being surveilled.
Any movement of livestock into or within the province must be reported and by law must be accompanied by an owner declaration of origin and health status and a declaration by the recipient that the animals will be isolated on arrival for at least 28 days.
A cloudy Saturday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with isolated thundershowers expected. Lows of between 11 and 13 degrees and highs of between 22 and 24.
Happening in traffic this afternoon, there's a stationary vehicle on the N1 southbound, and that is at Rancho, so just be careful if you're out there this afternoon. There's a crash on the N1 northbound before Linwood Road, and the left shoulder is closed. Several traffic signals once again faulty out in the four-ways area, and it's a four-way stop heading past there. Got that truck broken down on the N1 northbound at Proof Plus Interchange. Some good news for you there, that truck has been cleared and traffic back to normal.
The top story in EWN, members of parliament have cast doubt on a South African National Defence Force survey which found that the level of morale among soldiers is good.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
If you were to say the one thing that South African jazz musicians give to the world that you cannot find anywhere else, what would you say it is?
I think each people have their own stories, and I think that's really unique to every people. South Africa has a very complex history, and somehow that history, when we speak about jazz, that has somehow been some of the indicators that inform how we articulate jazz music. It enunciates from these years. So that's a very unique South African story, but I think it's also something much older that is a kind of folk tradition about rhythms.
Dr. Nduduzo Makatini.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
The DP World Lions are ready to defend their legacy of champions, but a hungry challenger is in town for the T20 Challenge. This Saturday, November 8th, the Pride of Jozi faces the newly promoted high-flying Muti Ram Tuskers, the team that swept the Division 2 trophies last season and is eager to prove they belong in the top flight. Witness the ultimate contest at the iconic DP World Wanderers Stadium. The action starts at 1 p.m. Back the Pride of Jozi at the DP World Wanderers by purchasing tickets to all 3 T20 matches and stand a chance to win a VIP experience for you and 3 friends at a Joburg Super Kings match. Tickets at Ticket Pro or visit the DP World Lions website. The World Test Championship Final Mace will be on display throughout the stadium from 12 onwards.
Day 20, awaiting proof of payment. Day 30, still waiting. Day 40, funds finally cleared. In business, credit with 55 interest-free days keeps you moving. We get it. Get an ABSA Business Credit Card. Use over 50% of your credit and initiation fees will be on us. Offer ends 31 December 2025. Apply at absa.co.za/business. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. ABSA, your story matters.
The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates' timeless wisdom reminds us of the power of introspection. At Plus 94 Research, we delve deep into data, uncovering insights that drive meaningful decisions. Our scientific methodologies transform questions into clarity. Don't just operate, understand. Don't just guess, know. Plus 94 Research, the science of decision making.
702 is in conversation with the Glass Recycling Company on 702 Drive with John Perlman, discussing the hashtag Glass Recycling Challenge and how small actions can lead to big change.
What is the Glass Recycling Challenge and how do people take part?
Our goal is to collect 280 tons of glass packaging, collect your used glass bottles and jars, and then you need to find your nearest glass bank at tgrc.coza. It's a really simple way to recycle. Collect all the glass, put it in a box, and then you can win prizes by taking a snapshot, a photo of you on your recycling trip, post it on social media with the hashtag Glass Recycling Challenge, and then you can win.
The Glass Recycling Company, hashtag Glass Recycling Challenge.
EWN Sport.
Tolakele, who wins in Paris tomorrow night?
It'll be the box, John.
Score? Well, no, give me the margin. You don't have to necessarily have the numbers.
It'll be tight, but by 5 points.
Okay, Springboks by 5. Let's hope it happens that way. What you got for us on the last bulletin of the show?
Well, John, a spot in the curling knockout finals on the line when Richards Bay go up against Orlando Pirates tomorrow, while Golden Arrows host Marumo Gallants on Sunday. Having earned the moniker of Cup Kings in recent seasons, Adeslam Madu has warned his Buccaneers against complacency.
Since you didn't play the game, you cannot pretend to go to the final. For me, it's very important to prepare well the game, to analyze very well the opponent, and to respect all the teams. I think it will be very, very tough game tomorrow because first of all we are in Durban, so they will have this proud to play strongly that game against Orlando Pirates.
In the Premier League, the two big games of the weekend see Manchester United up against Tottenham Hotspur, while Manchester City will clash with Liverpool. Arne Slot is looking to build on the Reds' last league win against Aston Villa.
To make that a little bit more clear, we were actually very consistent. But the thing is, we were consistent in losing. So that wasn't the idea about being consistent. Yeah, City is, of course, a game on itself. Could say playing there away from home is probably one of the most difficult challenges you have throughout the season. Although I constantly keep on saying how difficult it is to play Brentford away or Palace away. Every away game is difficult, every home game as well, but an away game even more.
Ruben Amorim, meanwhile, has urged people to forget the past after Cristiano Ronaldo criticised his former club. Ronaldo suggested that Amorim cannot perform miracles at Old Trafford due to a lack of squad quality.
He knows and he has a huge impact in everything he said. What we need to focus is in the future. We know that we as a club made a lot of mistakes in the past, but we are trying to change that. So let's not focus what happened. Let's focus what we are doing now. And we are doing that. We are changing a lot of things in the structure, the way we do things, the way we want the players to behave. We are doing that and we are improving.
Rassie Erasmus has made 6 changes to the Springbok team for the outgoing test tour against France tomorrow. That clash will be a special one for Siya Kolisi and Erasmus, with the captain becoming the 9th box centurion while the coach takes charge of his 50th test.
We're very proud of Sia. We're proud of being part of him reaching that milestone. But there's a lot of other guys that's close to milestones. Who's on 47 caps, 48 caps, 93 caps, 97 caps. I think there's a lot of them that's going to come now. But at the end of the day, like Sia handled it and like Eben handled it, when those big milestones come, if you make those things bigger than the match, then you normally tend to come second in that match. So his humbleness is something that just stands out for me always.
And the Proteas will be in search of a series-sealing win when they clash with Pakistan in the third and final ODI tomorrow. Tony De Zorzi goes into it looking to build on his scores of 18 and 76.
The conditions probably suit my style of play in terms of the pace and bounce of the wickets. Obviously a lot more spin involved, which maybe I prefer from a technical aspect. And then I think in the sub, you kind of, especially in places like Pakistan, Bangladesh, you kind of get into routine because you can't leave the hotel. So you, like you say, it's a bit of a grind on and off. So it's almost just staying in that work mindset. When you really focused on the cricket, there's nothing else to focus on. There's nothing else to do.
Tolagile Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get the latest from the roads at 17 minutes now to 6 o'clock. EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS the word out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand.
John, thanks very much. I'm having a look at the sort of central area of Johannesburg and the rest of the surrounding area. It is just wet roads and heavy traffic everywhere. There's a crash on the N1 northbound before Linwood Road. The left shoulder is close to traffic there. Truck broken down on the N1 northbound at Proof Plus interchange. That has been cleared and the traffic has eased up in that area. But I am looking at some heavy rains and, of course, everything turning a little bit darker in that area as you head through there. Traffic signals faulty out in Tshwane. It's at the N1 and New Road, the N14 and Jean Street, Modderfontein Road and Van Riebeeck Road. And I wish you get home safely also, John. More Eyewitness News Traffic at 6 o'clock.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a parent and a nervous but excited kid practicing her lines to put on a show-stopping performance at the school play. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a future superstar on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
In a moment, we're going to talk to somebody who has a huge task, running one of South Africa's oldest and most prominent and arguably most complicated universities. The Vice-Chancellor of Stellenbosch University, Professor Daresh Ramjuganath, is my guest on A Song, a Book and a Dish. That's in a moment.
Your office is more than just a place to work. It's a reflection of your success. At Desk and Chair, we help you elevate your workspace with locally manufactured desks and a wide range of chairs to suit your style and budget. Our expert consultants are with you every step of the way, from planning to delivery and assembly. Visit our showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk and Chair. Think, feel, work better.
I'm Samela Kilboy, an actress and mom to 3 lovely kids. I worry about how sugar can make them sick. Drinking sugary drinks could lead to diabetes, heart disease, and obesity as they get older. Diabetes is one of the top causes of death in South Africa. I'm joining the fight to demand government puts our health ahead of greedy industry profits. Government must act now. Protect public health. Increase the health tax on sugary drinks, tobacco, and alcohol. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
This festive, when your family gathers, feed them the Nando's Festive Fill-Up meal. Feed Auntie, who's in charge of the key to that storeroom. And feed that niece that makes the strict grandparents do TikTok challenges. And that cousin that watches the same movie that comes in part 1, 2, 3, 4, and many more. Yeah, you can feed it too. Gather them all for the Nando's Festive Fill-Up meal for only $3.99. Eat at Nando's and pay 40 Rand less. Nando's, oh, what a place.
A song, a book, and a dish.
On 702.
It's that time of the week where we spend time with somebody who's doing a very important and prominent job in South Africa, but we don't know a great deal about them. My guest today is in charge of one of South Africa's oldest, largest and most important universities. Professor Daresh Ramjuganath is the Vice-Chancellor of Stellenbosch University, a position he took up in the early part of this year, and we're delighted to have him with us on 702 Drive. Prof, welcome and thanks very much for your time. What's the best thing about being the VC of Stellenbosch University, and what's the most challenging? I would imagine there's a fair bit of both.
Well, good afternoon, John. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be able to join you. So probably the best part is being able to be amongst young people, some of the most promising young minds in the country, and being able to play some sort of role in developing those minds for the impact of the country. You know, leadership for us is a critical part that we need to get right in South Africa. And being at a university and being able to develop and transform the minds of young people, especially intellectually gifted young people, to be able to make a contribution to the country is critical in that regard. So that's probably one of the best things. One of the worst things, I think, universities are always under the spotlight. The higher education sector is fairly volatile. That's not just in South Africa, but across the world. Major issues with regards to financial sustainability. And that's probably one of the most difficult parts of being a vice chancellor at a university at this point in time.
So what kind of bright young mind, Prof, were you at Manilal Valji Primary School in Durban all those years ago? What were you good at, and what did you perhaps find challenging about school?
So John, I was in no way applying myself intellectually or academically in primary school. In fact, I was probably one of the worst learners in primary school. I think probably coming out dead last in my class.
Yes.
I think where I only started to really apply myself was actually at the start of high school, or should we say grades 8, grade 9, somewhere around there. And I started to then understand my kind of intellectual ability. But no, I was not a good student in primary school.
So, I mean, when there is that change, sometimes it's internal, and sometimes there's somebody on the outside who says, come on, Daresh, there's way more that you can do than you are doing, and sometimes it's a mix of the two. What was your journey in that regard?
Yep, I mean, that's exactly it. I think, we underestimate the influence that teachers, community members, family, parents play in the development and in terms of getting the full potential out of our learners and of our students. For me, it was the interest that was taken in me by some of the science teachers at my high school, who kind of really got interested in me and tried to bring out the best in me academically. Also, my mother played a very, very strong role in that, in terms of getting me to really apply myself and, kind of warning me that if I didn't, there'll be severe consequences in a number of ways for that. But, so there's particular individuals, mentors, teachers that are critical in terms of unlocking your potential.
So you went into chemical engineering eventually, but was that a fairly straight road? You mentioned a teacher guiding you down that line. We'll come to your book in a moment, which is not science at all. But were you always headed for engineering and the sciences?
No, not well. I think from high school, yes, I wanted to do something in the sciences, but not necessarily engineering. I think back in the late 1980s, engineering wasn't necessarily something that people of color undertook and went to university for. And it's probably because, in the past, in the history of our country, people were not allowed to study engineering. And what happened is in metric or in grade 11, I participated in the science Olympiad, did very well.
Right.
And the prize was to actually and spend some time at some universities. And that is where I actually got to know about engineering. That's where my interest came about in engineering. That and the fact that I was a huge MacGyver fan, right? So trying to figure out how to solve things and problems. And so the two of them led me to engineering, because I actually saw the whole benefit of being able to see problems and then find solutions and debottleneck and all those kind of things that goes along with being an engineer. But and while I was doing my engineering degree, there was no intention about becoming an academic or pursuing a research career. But there again, one of the professors took an interest in me and mentored me, and that's where it started off in terms of my journey in academia.
It's a real theme in the bit you've told us about about your life, Prof, that people step in, people take a real interest, and it sparks all sorts of things. I want to go back, though, to home. You mentioned your mom, Vina, your dad, Darampal, a teacher, and you had a sister, a younger sister. So round the dinner table, were meal times an important part of what family life was about? Did you all gather, and was there any kind of routine of, sharing what happened in your day and so on?
Yeah, I think that's a normal part of a healthy family relationship in terms of being able to share and discuss and so forth, and that happened. And I think with my father being originally a high school teacher and later on becoming an academic at what is now known as Durban University of Technology. Obviously, academics was something that was discussed. And no, I think that's where the interest comes about in terms of especially learning and so forth.
So we got a listener. I'll use their full name because I think it's relevant here. Santosh Gumpath, who says, "Wow, I'm hearing Daresh being interviewed." Excuse me. He lectured us in chemical engineering at the University of Natal 25 years ago. Good to hear him again in his crucial role. So again, returning to where we started and your comments about students, I want to ask you a little bit about your choice of book. It actually is a book I happen to have read, and I say this with great pride because it's 944 pages long, and I never thought I would get through it. But it's written by Doris Kearns Goodwin, who's an eminent American historian. I'll give the full title because the second part of the title gives you a clue to, I think, what the book is really wonderfully about. Team of Rivals, the Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln. What drew you to the book and what kept you going, apart from the fact that it doubled for at least part of your gym session just by the fact that you had to pick it up?
No, I think it's about the way when you get into leadership, the way you've got to work with people. You work with people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different personalities, people that would have been your rivals, people that you could have probably competed for positions. And it's about how you actually pull them all closer together and get them working in a manner that brings benefit and synergy. And I think that is what I really appreciated and what I loved about the book. And it's, to a large extent, that's part of my task. Part of my task now at Stellenbosch University is about doing exactly that with a large number of stakeholders within the institution.
We have to talk about food because we've done the book, we do the dish, and we're going to get to the music in a moment. Favorite dish, chicken biryani or curry made by my mother-in-law. I don't know if that's diplomatic. I'm sure it's not. What kind of cook are you?
No. So I'm in no way gifted with regards to cooking. In fact, I'm probably one of the worst cooks. But generally, as a cuisine, I like Mediterranean. But in terms of a favorite dish, I mean, that's my mother-in-law's cooking. The chicken biryani or the curry. My wife would probably say that's probably the reason why I married her. But no, that's my favorite meal.
Let's talk music because you've picked something by Josh Groban, but just music in your life. Do you have music in the background when you're studying, when you're going through reports you have to do to the Senate or convocation, or I don't know what the structures are there? I mean, is music something that you listen to when you're not doing other things, or is it part of the kind of soundtrack to your daily life?
Well, no. So I think, when you're doing reading and you're prepping for meetings and so forth, I generally do that in silence. It's just the way I actually I'm able to take in the material. But I enjoy listening to music when I'm driving or just sitting around the couch. And so that is where I really enjoy it. And there's no particular genre that I enjoy. I enjoy everything.
And you've chosen Josh Groban, You Raise Me Up. Out of all the music you've heard, you picked this one. Tell us why.
Well, I think it's because of the story about people that play a significant role in your development, in your formation, in your growth, and be it your mother, your parents, your father, your family, your mentors, your teachers. I think that's a strong message in there about those roles that they play and how they raise you up. And so that's probably one of my reasons for it being one of my favorite songs.
Well, it certainly accords with the bit you've told us about your life, and we thank you, Prof, for sharing with us your song, your book, and your dish. Let's enjoy Josh Groban, and thanks again for joining us on 702 Drive.
Thanks so much, John.
Your shoulders, you raise me up to more than I can be. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on.
Josh Groban on 702 Drive, the choice of our guest on A Song, a Book and a Dish, the Vice-Chancellor at Stellenbosch University, Prof. Daresh Ramjugannath. I'm John Perlman. Today's show and the whole week's shows produced by Jonathan Fairburn and Rafue Litsua. Karapo Malapile is our technical producer. Have a wonderful weekend. Go on. I hope you do. Good night.
You raise me up.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, advancing Red Rocket's ambitions with Discovery Green as the off-taker to power Africa's future through affordable, renewable energy. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, a new AI app that will make health recommendations that are ultra-specific to just you. How we are suddenly spending a lot more money on travel both here and abroad. Why so many African CEOs are feeling a lot more confident about their companies and their economies. And it's Friday. We check in with the state of fine dining